Good evening and welcome everyone as the Virtual Grip and Coast to Coast Racing Networks welcome you to the Icon Sim Sports Hometown Heroes live from Volusia Speedway. I am Austin Belke. Alongside me in the booth is J.R. Shepard. Bringing us all the views in the production trailer is our director, Mike Yao. Fantastic racing once again on tap for us, J.R.
Yeah, absolutely, Austin. This is a great track. Volusia Speedway's half-mile D-shaped oval, opened back in 1968 as dirt, went to pavement briefly in 1989, then back to dirt in 1999. It's a multi-groove track. It's going to be a place that the bottom is going to be pretty dominant early on until that groove extends out, and then you're going to see guys go all the way up to the top of this racetrack. This is one of those places where you've got a lot of freedom as a driver. Turn 2 really opens up, expands onto that D-shaped backstretch. Gives you a lot of options going into turn 3, but you got to be careful because turn 4 will really close up, and that's where you're going to see a lot of excitement, I think, as they're coming to the checkers.
For sure, JR. We're going to have to see how that plays out, especially with the different powered cars as the night goes on here. Of course, starting out with the 305s, then going to the 360s, and then the fun event for tonight, the Hall of Fame Street Stock Enduro is sure to be a fan favorite for this season. I'm certainly hyped for it. I don't know about all you guys. In the booth, though, with us, Randy Shreves is our in-race reporter, so we're going to talk to him in just a couple quick minutes here while we do the qualifying to kind of ask Randy how the track's going, how the car is feeling, and what he kind of expects the track to do for us tonight. You can see these drivers right now putting the final touches on the practice time. You can see Andy Padden right now up at the top of the timing sheets, and then Schaefer just behind him. A couple quick laps, so you can see just how close it is. The first 5 cars right now separated by just under 1/100th of a second right now, looking at Gary Taylor and his number 34 machine. And JR, you know, we usually get to the end of practice and we see a lot of guys having speeds that really aren't indicative of their overall speed, kind of because the track's worn out. Tell us about that.
For sure. So you're going to have guys that have different driving styles, and some of these guys like the track when it has a ton of moisture in it, when you're really able to hammer that throttle and keep the car straight. And then you're going to have a lot of guys that like when the track wears out and you really have to start searching around for some grip. And those are the guys that late in this race, especially during the A main, are going to start to shine because they're the ones that are able to locate the grip, but also keep the car as straight as possible. So anytime you over-rotate in these cars, especially with that large right rear wheel, you're going to lose a lot of time. And the guys that do it best are going to be the ones that are up front.
For sure. The track does wear out. We're about 7 seconds probably left to practice right here in this before we go ahead and get down to qualifying, where we'll see the track kind of reset. What does that do for a driver when you've just been out here on kind of a worn-in track where it's been rubbered up, and that's why you can see kind of the dark spots in here? When it goes fresh, is it hard to automatically change your brain to realize it's a lot tackier now, and especially tackier in different places?
The guys that are extremely good, they're able to adjust very quickly. You can watch on Friday nights on the BRL Street Stock race and see that I'm not one of those guys. So it definitely is difficult if you're not adjusted to it on a regular basis. So you know how the car's handling right now. When we go qualifying, it's going to be a completely different track. So you got to get your mindset corrected and change how you're driving this car so you can get the maximum speed out of it.
For sure. Oftentimes we see the low lines start out in the dominant fashion, and then these guys go further and further towards the outer part of this track. And as you're out here during these races, where do you look for the grip? Is there anything that you could kind of get keyed in on, or is it just you know that the grip is going to gradually go further and further towards that outside wall?
Yeah, you know, as we get more and more cars on the track, you're going to see the track surface starting to lighten up. As that surface lightens up, the moisture is starting to come out of it. And then at some point, you're really going to see the track start to turn almost a black color, and that's where it's laid down a lot of rubber, and it's extremely slick. So you got to try to keep your car, especially the right rear tire that you're using as your drive tire up off the corners, out of that slick portion. So you're going to be searching around, and you'll find some of the darker dirt-colored portions of the track. That's where moisture is still there, and that's where you're going to have the maximum grip.
For sure. Just before we go ahead and get started, though, this is going to be the A&J Custom Creations 305 Sprint Series. These guys have been grueling it out over a fantastic season so far. We're about 10 races in, only 2 more races left in the championship for this season. So we're really getting down to the wire here. And of course, this, as always, is the pre-race show presented by the Pitside Podcast. Your Austin Belkey, J.R. Shepard, and then Mike Yao in the production trailer. We can go ahead and look at the championship standings right now presented by Sim Racer Hub. Of course, those up on your screen right now as you look at this, starting at the bottom, then going all the way to the top. Blake Chapman right now out front by a pretty decent haul of points. Only 13-point lead over Randy Shreves, and every time Blake has a good race, Randy has a bad race, and every time Randy has a bad race, has a good race, Blake has a bad race. So they kind of just flop back and forth. You can see very tight battle for the championship for the overall win. And then another extremely close battle as you go all the way down to the field. From about third on back, you see that separation get smaller and smaller between the two drivers. So we're getting down to the end here. Blake Chapman can obviously continue to kind of coast into a championship victory here, but Randy Shreves obviously needs to stay hot on his heels to make sure that he doesn't let Blake have too easy of a going for the next couple races. Those were your championship standings presented by the Sim Racer Hub. And as we finally wrap up the last bit of practice, you see some guys out there kind of just getting more and more acclimated to the track and what it's going to do as the race goes on. And, with the limited power these cars have, we kind of see these cars don't really tear the track up too much. They don't always go out to the wall, mostly just because, they're kind of power limited, not so much traction limited at this point. We're going to ask Randy about that in just a couple seconds when we talk to him. But we are getting the checkered flag on the practice session there. You can see that denoted in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. So we are going to go ahead and start qualifying in a second. Qualifying starts here. You see Andy Panton in the number 87 car come off pit road. This, of course, presented by ABR Setup Shop. You see Andy starting his fast lap. See a couple drivers out there on track, and as they do put down their laps over time, they're going to have a warm-up lap to kind of get acclimated, get the car spinning at the right RPMs, kind of warmed up to optimal temperatures and pressures as much as they can be. Then they're going to go around for their 2 laps, and as they do those, you're going to see those populated on the left-hand side of your screen to denote the fastest drivers up at the top, and then eventually we'll get the split times as well. For now, though, you can see all the drivers on the bottom of your screen there with the purple and green sectors. Green sectors represent a driver's personal best, and then those purple sectors represent the session best. So you see Andy Patton way up to the top there. Randy Shreves puts in a purple lap there for a 15.002, and then Blake Chapman all the way up to the top, so you can see our 2 championship competitors really duking it out here, even in qualifying.
Absolutely, Austin. Those guys are always the ones that are going to be near the top. Also saw Nicholas Vickery pop up into 4th place there. Good time by him, and Joe Canellis followed him in 5th place. So common names that we see each and every week. These are the guys going to get faster and faster as the night goes on.
Yeah, for sure. Nick Vickery, one driver we often see up at the top of the timing sheets, doing extremely well in his races. We are going to take a time, though, chance to talk to our in-race reporter for tonight, Randy Shreves. Hey, Randy.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Pretty good. Honestly, not as good as it is for you, though. Currently 3rd on the timing sheets as we were looking, just barely pipped there by Flero and then Chapman. You guys only separated by, the top 3, 5 even, separated by only about 6/100ths of a second. So how's the track feeling?
So far, it feels real good. It's still real tacky. Definitely a lot of grip out there still. I think once it goes away, though, a little more, we'll have a little better racing, though. There'll be more grooves. Right now, it's just kind of a one groove track, I would say.
For for sure. We often see these races here at Volusia dominated by the bottom group for the first couple laps, and after about the first heat or so, maybe into the B main, and then the feature for sure, the outside lane kind of becomes more available. Do you expect that to be the case once again here tonight?
Yeah, the top side always comes in around I don't know, about after the heats, and then it'll get pretty slicked off, and then everybody will be riding the top, and then eventually, if we get lucky enough, that bottom might come back around.
For sure, we've kind of seen that bottom creep back in. Blake Chapman used that to come up to victory right when everyone thought the top line was going to best. He made sure to give the bottom line a good shout and then ended up bringing home the victory. But thank you so much for your time. Best of luck tonight.
Thank you. I'll talk to you later.
That was Randy Shreves, our in-race reporter, one of the final two drivers racing for the championship. But we're going to give you guys the rundown starting order for heat number 1, presented by the Super Dirt Car Series. Donovan Ross starts on pole, followed by Jeff Barker in second. Andy Patton lines up third, with our championship leader Blake Chapman in fourth.
Yeah, running off fifth in tonight's heat race will be Pat Boyce. Sixth place will be John Rayner Jr., and seventh place is Bob DeGood.
Now, JR, one thing I do want to touch on before our fans start to question their sanity too much, we did just see Blake won the pole for this race, but now he's starting fourth. That's because we invert the top 4 for the beginning of each of these heat races, so that's why you see that inversion there. So usually Donovan Ross would have started fourth in his heat, but they kind of do the inversion just to liven up all these heats to give the fans a bit more to watch as the night goes on here.
Definitely makes the racing more exciting, and you get to see how the guys that were fast in qualifying, if they're capable of moving through the field or not, and sometimes they're not. So you could qualify third or fourth and have a really good heat race because of that.
For sure, and oftentimes we see it's a bit of a challenge to pass. Even though these guys are the fastest, they're usually only faster by about maybe a tenth or so compared to some of the mid-pack, so it's extremely hard to make up any passes when you're really only a tenth of a second faster than some of the drivers you're racing with.
Oh, absolutely, and these are the 305 sprints, so a little bit less horsepower, and with the way the track is, it's going to be hard to make a pass. It's going to be closer to a one-groove type track here at the beginning of these heats. So, these guys are going to have to play smart and only make a move when they think they can make it count. But that groove's going to be very, very narrow right now.
Yeah, for sure. We were just talking to Randy about that too. He mentioned so far bottom dominant track, and then as the heats go on, you're going to see that top group start to come in, and then when it starts to come in at first, it's kind of dual lane, and then it goes to just a high line track. Usually second or third lane is preferred, and then right at the end, if we burn in the track just enough, the bottom lane starts to become available once more. But the Steve King Foundation pace truck pulls down pit road, gives command of the field back over to Donovan Ross. He waits to put his foot on the loud pedal. Barney the flagman waving the green flag as they rocket down into turns 1 and 2. You can see Barker putting on a huge job on the outside of Donovan Ross to make sure he makes his presence known as now they go down the backstretch into turns 3 and 4. You can really see these guys taking advantage of the whole track with right now, JR.
Absolutely. Andy Patton right down against that inside wall trying to get this lead from Donovan Ross. He's really working the inside. There's a lot of grip down there right now, and I believe he's going to be able to pull this off through turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, Pat Boyce, though, on his side down the backstretch there, so that's going to improve Bob DeGood, standing by about 1 positions here as we now start lap number 3 of 8. These heat races only 8 laps long, so you do have to make a lot of moves in the early going if you want to improve your position, especially because this is how these guys are going to start. The top 4 at least are going to start first, fourth, 9th, and then 13th or so in the respective A main. So any position you can make up right now in the top 4 is going to improve your overall starting spot for the feature event by about 3 spots.
Yeah, absolutely. These are the races where you want to finish as high as you can because track position is going to be critical in that A main. The further you are up front, the less you have to worry about passing people and just worry about maintaining the speed that you have throughout the race. So these are very important races, and right now we see Andy Patton and Blake Chapman kind of starting to pull away.
Yeah, Andy Patton, though, doing a great job. By far, definitely the man pulling away the most over everyone else you saw last time by. He did put in a purple lap, so fastest lap out of anyone out there on the field. You see a couple drivers like Bob DeGood, John Rayner Jr. putting in their fastest laps of the session. So everyone right now going faster and faster as the track gets grippier and grippier. But they take the white flag right now. Andy Patton still out front over championship leader Blake Chapman.
Patton maintains the lead going into turn 3 and 4. He's going to be able to pull this one off in front of Chapman, and you see Donovan Ross and Jeff Barker across the line transferring into tonight's A-Main.
The three drivers who don't transfer automatically are going to be Bob DeGood, John Rayner Jr., and Pat Boyce. So those three drivers are going to have to go on to the last chance qualifier. But we'll go ahead and give you guys a starting order for heat number 2 presented by Pep Partners. Chris Schaefer lines up on pole with Carter Jamieson to his outside. Nick Vickery lines up third with Jeff Floro in fourth.
Yeah, lining up 5th is Nathan Aldridge, 6th place is Austin Marlett, and 7th place will be Roger Craig in tonight's second heat.
The boss man, Roger Craig, bringing up the rear, so hopefully he can improve his position quite a bit here as the night goes on. Definitely not the worst qualifier, but I'm sure he's one of those guys that wants to go ahead and improve his position. He's someone we've seen have a lot more speed in the last couple of weeks that we've been commentating here. Doing a great job to get faster and faster throughout the season, continuing to show more and more speed. He's been making a lot more of these A features than he has not been, so doing a great job. But right now we're still looking at Chris Schaefer as he rides behind the iRacing pace truck. iRacing pace truck, though, we usually like to call that the Steve King Foundation pace truck. The Steve King Foundation was formed to help the dirt track racing community across the country by providing financial assistance to drivers, pit crew members, racing officials, track operations personnel, or the immediate families of those individuals who suffer serious illness, injury, or death. You can check them out at stevekingfoundation.org. So they do a great job to help us out, so we like to name the pace truck after them. You see that Steve King Foundation pace truck right now rounding through turns 3 and 4 before he gives command of the field back over to Chris Schaefer, the pole sitter for this here event. So iRacing pace truck pulls down pit road. Chris puts his foot on the loud pedal of these two right now. Noah's Ark style down into turns 1 and 2 so far. Oh man, look at that. Jamieson pushed way wide by the car behind him. Going to be Jeff Floro in that number 200 machine.
Yeah, almost 3 wide coming out of turn 2. And we actually got Nick Vickery actually touches the inside wall in turn 3. It's going to move him back into 4th spot, Austin.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be touching that wall any more than you need to. You want to get as close to it as possible. They make contact, though, down the backstretch. That was Floro and Jamieson kind of dooring each other if these cars had doors. Luckily, both of them didn't make too much contact with the wheels and tires of these things. Otherwise, they would have gone spinning, flipping down the backstretch for sure. But right now, Floro uncontested in second place, doing his best to try and chase down our pole sitter for this heat race, Chris Schaefer.
Absolutely, the top two trying to stay ahead of the rest of the pack. You see Nick Vickery actually being able to rebound a little bit, going from 4th place back into 3rd. I think he's going to try to chase down Floro here and see if he can make that pass for 2nd.
Yeah, we've seen Nickery have a lot of speed the last couple of weeks here. Been in contention to win a couple of these races, so doing a great job on his part. You see Jamieson right now, kind of the cork in the bottle for the 3 drivers behind him. Of course, of Aldridge, Craig, and Marlett. Craig up 1 position from where we started. Keeps trading the position with Austin Marlett right now, bringing up the rear occasionally. So, contact, though, between Jamieson and Aldridge. Aldridge into the outside wall. I think that's going to end his night. Roger Craig caught a piece of that as well.
Yeah, that's definitely going to make his night a lot longer now because of that. That was that battle for the 4th and final transfer spot in this heat race.
We got a battle for the lead, though. You see Floro go around the outside of Chris Schaefer there. It looks like Chris kind of wants the inside. He's going to give Floro the outside. I think that's just what Floro wanted. White flag in the air, though. 1 lap to go.
Awesome move right there, being able to go around the outside, keeping his car straight and maintaining that momentum and speed as he goes into turn 3.
Yeah, I wouldn't count Nick Vickery out of this fight, too. He's going to try to do the over-under as they come off turn 4, but checkered flag in the air to Jeff Floro, Chris Schaefer, Nick Vickery, Austin Marlett, going to be your 4 drivers at transfer. Then, of course, your three drivers that are going to have to go on to the last chance qualifier are Carter Jamieson, Nathan Aldridge, and Roger Craig, which brings us to the lining up order for heat number 3, presented by the World of Sports podcast. Nick Schell starts in first with Gary Taylor to his outside. Completing row 2 is Joe Canales, and Randy Shreves, our in-race reporter.
Fifth place starting in this heat race will be Andrew Smith, and sixth place will be Mike Cranmer tonight.
JR, that was a fantastic pass by Floro, kind of using that outside line. I feel like it's finally starting to come in, and I'm sure all these drivers witness that too.
Yeah, definitely. The middle's going to start to be faster and faster in these cars as they put down laps. The inside's starting to get a little bit slick. I think it's going to be a little bit tricky if you're able to get right close to that inside wall, almost touching it. There's still some grip there, but if you miss it just a little bit, it's going to be slick, and the car is going to start to over-rotate on you. And I think that's what we saw there in that last heat race, and it just cost him some momentum. And yeah, Floro was able to get by on the outside.
Yeah, it really did. We even saw another driver, I think Nathan Aldridge, kind of glanced off the inside wall that really checked up his momentum, and then he was back in that hornet's nest for what was the final transfer spot. So any kind of mistake you make, especially in these fast heat races in terms of the wall or even missing your line for a corner or two, really can mess up your whole night.
Yeah, it absolutely can. And, like we saw Vickery being able to battle back after that, but yeah, just slight contact with the wall, and he's one of the best drivers out here, so it's very, very easy to do. These cars are not easy to drive.
Yeah, for sure not at all. We see the Steve King Foundation pace truck pulled down pit road, and now it's up to Nicholas Schell to start the race. He gets the green flag in the air from Barney the Flagman. Huge jump, though, for Gary Taylor on the outside. He's going to continue to use that outside lane. Almost gets slid up into by Nick Schell on the inside. Thankfully, no contact there, but now Randy Shreves, our in-race reporter from the fourth starting spot on the outside line. They make contact, though. I think that was Shreves. Shreves bouncing off the outside wall. He kind of got forced up there by Nick Schell.
Yeah, absolutely great save, not ending his night there, because these cars are open wheel and very, very easy to get airborne. He's trying to make a pass back on the second place driver, Nick Schell, here as he goes to the inside of turn 3 and 4, and now the inside of 1 and 2.
Yeah, Randy tries to complete the slide job there, gets into the 512 of Nick Schell. Just a little bit, no harm, no foul there. Those two drivers kind of bouncing off each other. We have two drivers, though, wrecking down the backstretch. You saw Joe Canales flipping there, and I think Smith has towed to pit road to make sure to get his car off the track and make sure no other drivers are going to hit him. So these four drivers left on track right now, going to be the four to advance into the A main feature event.
Yeah, and this is a treat for them, actually, Austin. So these guys know that they are locked in. There's nobody that can challenge them for it at the moment. So they can really just go for it. They can fill out the track, see what their car is doing, and they can race each other as hard as they want to, as long as they're not going to make contact and put themselves out, because it looks like Joe Canales is back on the track.
I was just going to mention that too, JR. These guys can kind of race each other as hard as they want to, but if they do make any sort of mistake, they automatically go from making the feature guaranteed to now being passed by Joe Canales and then having to start in the last chance qualifier. None of them want to do that, but we've got 2 laps to go here. Shreves trying to do everything he possibly can to run down Gary Taylor, but not making too much of it. He's making slight inroads, but surely not as much as he'd like to.
Absolutely not. He would definitely like to be able to close that gap and be able to race on this last lap here, but looks like Taylor's got a very comfortable lead going into 3.
Yeah, of course, the driver's now coming off turn 4 to take the checkered flag from Barney the Flagman. Your winner, Gary Taylor, followed by Randy Shreves, Mike Cranmer, and then Nick Schell, going to be the 4 drivers that automatically advance to the A main. The drivers, of course, who are going to have to go into the last chance qualifier are going to be Joe Canales, and I didn't quite catch the last name there, Andrew Smith. But we'll get on to your heat number 4 starting lineup, presented by Maurer Farm Management. Bob DeGood starts on pole, followed by Carter Jamieson in second. Joe Canales lines up in third with John Rayner Jr. in fourth.
Lining up in 5th is Nathan Aldridge. Alongside him will be Andrew Smith. In 7th place will be Pat Boyce, and 8th place will be Roger Craig tonight.
Excuse me, I misspoke there. This is the B main. Not a whole lot of drivers showing up to this tonight, so this is also the B main presented by Chip Bangers Racing. So that's why there are 8 cars instead of the usual one. All 8 of these guys, though, advance on to the feature. And JR, that's got to be pretty gratifying for all these drivers to know that they can't really mess up large enough to just go ahead and miss the field completely.
Yeah, absolutely. And, disadvantage of being in the B main, not automatically transferring, so you're going to start a little further back. But the advantage of being in this race is that you're getting more seat time, more track time. You're going to get to feel your car out and see how it handles around other drivers. And these guys do have some small adjustments they can do with the wing. So as the track changes, they may work on that a little bit and see what's working, what's not working. And here's your chance to do it. That way you know what you have going into the A main tonight.
That's a great point to mention too, JR. We do though see that there is a warm up for these guys, only 3 minutes long. So is it better to be in this race than in the warm up, or does this go ahead and just give you more seat time overall? So you kind of weigh that, having this and the warm up.
Warm-up's always good because it's right before the race, but being in this B main, you're actually racing guys up close and personal. So we've got 8 guys that are going to be very close together throughout this whole race, and that's when you're going to be able to tell what your car is really doing and how you need to set up guys in order to make a pass.
Yeah, for sure. We should see that inside lane. Won't be, really huge right now, but I think in the main affair here, in the 20-lap feature here in just a couple minutes, it's really going to come in. But the Steve King Foundation pace truck pulls down pit road. Of course, he gives command of the field over to Bob DeGood, who steps on the loud pedal. Huge advantage, though, to him. Going to clear the rest of the field uncontested down into turn 1, so he kind of has his choice of lanes. But wow, driver starting to the outside. I think that's Jamison. Huge jump around the outside. Contact, though, with him and Joe Canalis in that one car sends Jamison into the inside wall. He's flipping 4 cars into the outside wall, too. That's going to be Rayner, Craig, and Canalis.
Not at all what they wanted in this race, Austin. Like I said, this is one of those races where you really get to fill things out and get yourself prepared for the A main. And with the damage that those guys just incurred, that's going to put them back in this race as far as being able to fill that stuff out, and then also in the A main.
Yeah, for sure. Luckily for them, though, every driver does advance, so that wreck didn't really, stop anyone's night mega, so they couldn't continue at all. So luckily for those drivers, they can still go on, but really not what you wanted in this kind of affair. You want to use that extra seat time to be able to tell what the track is doing, and kind of if you're someone that wants to run the absolute bottom of the track, you want to be up there burning up the high side.
Yeah, you definitely do. So this is just like an additional warm-up for these guys. So you got the top 4 that's still on track here. They're going to use this just like the warm-up that'll follow before the A main. So it's more seat time, but not a whole lot of racing action, not a whole lot of being able to see how you can maneuver around other guys.
I'm sure the 2 drivers we see in first and second right now are racing Bob DeGood, Nathan Aldrich really going at it. We've seen this gap kind of decrease over time. Bob choosing the inside lane, so he's going to allow Nathan to go around the outside. I don't know if that was choreographed or maybe Bob just kind of figured Nathan was faster there, but he is kind of going to let him by here down the backstretch, choosing the inside line. I don't know if he means to do this.
He may just be experimenting a little bit. Also, if you look, Aldridge is really pushing that cushion higher and higher up the track, and that can be very tricky coming off the corner. If you miss it just a little bit, the car's going to push up and get the outside wall. So maybe something that Bob's just not comfortable with doing at this point in the night, but Aldridge doing a fantastic job putting that right rear tire right where the moisture is and getting the most grip coming out of the corners.
Yeah, that is what the best guys can do better than everyone else. We see Nathan Aldrich, though, coming through turns 3 and 4 for the second to last time to take the white flag. That means there's 1 lap left in this B main affair. So these guys going to go ahead and round the corner once more. Really just the 3 of these guys. We see Bob DeGood now coming under fire from Pat Boyce in that Totino's car.
Boyce, one of those guys that's been able to move up the track as well as they come across the finish line here with Aldridge, DeGood, and Boyce coming home in your top 3 spots.
Yeah, the rest of your field going to be as follows. You see Andrew Smith in 4th, John Rayner Jr. in 5th, Joe Canales going to finish in 6th, followed by Roger Craig and Carter Jamison rounding out the field. But we now go to our 3-minute warm-up session, and this is all too important. for the drivers that advance to the feature right away, like our pole sitter. So he's going to go out there and try to see what kind of laps he can do to make sure he goes as fast as he can when the actual race does start. So Blake Chapman taking advantage of this. And we are going to take just a second to talk to our in-race reporter, Randy Shreves.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, Randy, pretty good. How you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. Track's starting to get a little bit slicker. We're starting to have a little more racing grooves going on. I think it's going to be a pretty good track, though, especially once it gets up here to the top. I think a lot of people are going to be going up there and maybe just follow the leader there for a little while until people start getting antsy, wanting to start making moves and see if they can make that middle there work, and hopefully that bottom will come in at the end there and open up another racing groove for us.
Hey, Randy, we see that you're going to be starting in 6th place tonight. On that outside line, is that something that you would prefer to be starting in when you take the green flag, or would you prefer to be on this inside based on track conditions?
Yeah, with these track conditions, I definitely I'd rather be up here on the outside because I know that the top's going to be a little faster for now. So I think that may give me a little advantage there.
Randy, as the race goes on, do you really expect the bottom groove is going to come in? And if you need to, is that something you feel comfortable with going down there? Or is it kind of just ride the high line until there's no longer grip and then kind of just use both of the lines if you need to?
Yeah, I'll probably be experimenting with both. And, I know the top's going to be there first, and then if everything else fails, if I notice anybody starting to pass me or anything, I'll know to go down. Or if I see Blake down there, because I know he'll probably try it before me. So
definitely, I was just going to ask that as my final question before we let you go back there to the racetrack. How do you know when it's time to go down to the bottom?
Really, you just kind of, if you can't run the top anymore, like you'll know, like the car will just want to turn down, or you just won't have any grip. So you're just going to try something different, and normally that's going to be the bottom.
For sure. Well, Randy, thank you so much for your insights. We'll go ahead and let you go to the race here. As always, good luck, man.
All right, thanks, guys.
That was Randy Shreves, our in-race reporter. Now we're going to get to the feature race, though. We are going to give you guys a rundown of the starting lineup here. Of course, like we mentioned, Andy Patton starting on pole, Jeff Floro starting his outside, rounding out row number 1. Completing row number 2 is Gary Taylor on the inside and Blake Chapman, championship leader, on the outside. Chris Schaefer lines up in 5th with Randy Shreves to his outside. Donovan Ross lines up in 7th with Nick Vickery in 8th. Mike Kramer lines up 9th with Jeff Barker completing the top 10. Austin Marlett starts 11th and Nick Schell starts 12th.
And starting in 13th place tonight will be Nathan Aldridge, followed by Bobby Good in 14th. 15th is Pat Boyce. 16th goes to Andrew Smith. 17th will be John Rayner. 18th will be Joe Canellis. 19th is Roger Craig, and rounding out the field for tonight's race will be Carter Jamieson driving the number 8 car.
Should have a very exciting night for us here today. We'll see, though, which line Andy Patton wants to choose. Looks like he is going to stay down on the inside, give Jeff Floro that outside. So maybe, of course, Andy hoping he can kind of get the field cleared by the time he makes it down into turn 1. So obviously he thinks it's okay to be down on the inside here, JR.
Yeah, I think for sure in these 305s, you're going to want to take the smallest radius possible, at least for that opening lap. And definitely, if you can get the jump on this start, you're going to be able to choose whichever line you want to run going into turn 1. So, yeah, I think the inside's where you're going to want to be as far as accelerating here.
For sure. The Steve King Foundation pace truck brings the drivers through turns 3 and 4 for the last time before they take the green flag. Here, going to give command of the field over to pole sitter Andy Patton. Had the fastest lap in qualifying, went out there and won his heat race, so he's starting on pole. Green flag in the air from Barney the Flagman. Huge jump, though, for Jeff Floro around the outside, doing a great job. You see Andy Patton stuffs it down into turns 1, slides up the track halfway. There's a caution already, JR.
Yeah, very early. We'll have to see what the caution is for here, but yeah, definitely Patton not getting the jump that he wanted to there, and looked like he got a little bit in the slick stuff in turn 1. Oh, we got a car on the side here, Austin.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we'll see what the cause for caution in here. Just a big pile up before the cars even went down into turn 1. You see a lot of drivers involved in that. That was about half the field almost. You can see just how many drivers now in the pit lane. Marlett, Smith, Craig, Jameson, Schaefer, Ross, Bob DeGood, one of the drivers on pit road too. So a lot of drivers damaged in that accident.
So it took about 8 guys being involved in that. I'm not sure that all of them will have race-ending damage, but it looks like at least 6 or 7 of them will. And yeah, that's a very disappointing end to the beginning of the A main here.
For sure. Steve King Foundation Pace Truck is leading these drivers around more and more under the first caution here, and just a big kind of kerfluffle, as DJ Clark would say. DJ, of course, not able to be here right now due to other commitments. So doing a great job, though, all these drivers. So hopefully we can keep it clean and green for the rest of the way here. Much more like we're used to seeing out of these guys in the C2CRL Racing League.
Yeah, I definitely think with that lap 1 accident, these guys are going to be conscious of what happened and what they need to do to keep it clean in the opening laps, and you know, just try to let the first couple of laps sort themselves out, figure out where you're at on the track, and then go race the guys that are around you. And these guys know how to do that. They do it each and every week.
Yeah, these coast-to-coast guys are usually pretty good at keeping it clean here. We've seen these races quite often go on with about only 1 or 2 cautions, so hopefully they got that first caution kind of out of their system. Now starting single file, though, so you see Pat no longer advantage or disadvantage, nor the rest of these drivers, given if they're on the inside or outside based on their starting position. So you see Andy Patton. Great start from him. Kind of gaps the rest of the field by about 2 car lengths. It's another 2 car lengths from Floro to Taylor. So a lot of these guys doing a great job. And you see one driver all the way down on the inside, Blake Chapman, checking out the inside already.
Yep, he's anxious to move forward. He's trying to make it work, and he's probably one of the best at doing that. So you see him maintaining his car right against that inside line. There's still some grip down there if you drive the line correctly, and he seems to be doing that right now.
Yeah, doing a great job. You see Chapman improving his position by 1 mark over Taylor behind him. You see Floro right now in second place, kind of going down to that inside line, seeing how much grip is down there. He thinks better of it, though, in turns 1 and 2, brings his car back up to the top. There's a battle right now. Way in the back, you see Randy Shreves right now, our in-race reporter, working that inside line as well. He must see Blake Chapman up there kind of testing out the waters for the inside line, knowing it's working for Blake. And if Blake's down there, you better get yourself down there, too.
Absolutely, and you know, we talk about the wing adjustments. Blake could be running something a little bit different than the rest of these guys. Everybody else running up top right now, but he's definitely making that bottom work, not losing any time and continuing to move forward here. Actually looking to the inside of Floro right now, coming off of 2.
Yeah, he did a great job to get from the inside of Taylor right now to the inside of Floro. So Blake's doing a great job using that inside lane. One thing these drivers, though, don't want to see in just a couple corners here, lap traffic. You see the last car out there. I think that's the boss man, that 747 car, Roger Craig, just ahead of these guys. So hopefully he holds his line and gives these drivers whatever lane they want. You see Floro, though, throws the car down to the inside of Blake Chapman from looking down there, now comes up to the middle. So we'll see what happens in this battle in the future.
Definitely trying to take Chapman's momentum away, but you can see Chapman running right next to that inside wall, almost making contact. He's almost completely past Floro as they come out of turn 4 here. Not quite. Floro's battling back hard, but he's got Andy Patton in front of him.
Yeah, well, these guys better look out, too, because there's a lap car of the boss man, Roger Craig, just ahead of him. So I don't think Roger wants to go back down to the inside. I think he's choosing the high side. He's telling these guys, if you want to get around me, you got to go low. And usually, oh, we have another caution. I think Chapman might be our leader.
Yeah, very fortunate for those leaders that they didn't have to encounter the lap traffic there. We'll see what happens under this replay.
Oh, man, hard contact with the outside wall there. Nick Schell getting involved in that. Looks like he was just kind of following one driver a little bit too close there before they made contact with the outside wall. I think that might have been Joe Canales. Really hard to tell, though, from that camera angle.
Yeah, and that backstretch is kind of deceiving, especially when you're trying to move up and get a little bit of that moisture on your tires to get the most grip. Sometimes you can move up just a little too much, and the car just naturally drifts into that outside wall, and kind of saw that right there where the opening is.
You see these drivers checking up pretty hard there for the Steve King Foundation pace truck. Sometimes just really not quite doing what he should be in the simulation compared to the rest of the drivers. They of course did. They were on the backstretch when the caution came out. Excuse me, just crossing the start-finish line. So the pace truck kind of goes at his own speed to catch up to the rest of these guys, despite the fact he does have or should rather have four-wheel drive in that pick-em-up truck. But now picking up our leader finally, Andy Patton, as we keep the camera focused on Blake Chapman, who is just starting to make that inside line really work. And it looks like the two drivers, just based on who's been manually disconnecting here, Pat Boyce and Austin Marlett, the other two involved in that wreck, have both disconnected from the session, so their night's effectively over.
Yeah, and as we look to this restart coming up, Austin, Andy Patton's going to have to be very conscious of where to place his car, I think, in that opening lap. In order to maintain the lead. I'm almost 100% sure that we're going to see Blake Chapman dive to the inside of turn 1 and 2 and try to use that shorter path down the backstretch to get an advantage here.
Yeah, he's definitely got to make sure he crosses his T's and dots his I's before they get started here. You see the Steve King Foundation pace truck pull down pit road, of course, gives command of the field over to Andy Patton. Doing a great job, though, to step on the loud pedal, get away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, amazing job getting a good jump. You see Blake Chapman getting a lot of grip down on that inside. Right now we're watching Nick Vickery in 6th place try to make up some ground.
Yeah, the camera focus is back on Blake Chapman, still using the inside line. He draws about even with Andy Patton as soon as they hit the center of the corner, so I think Blake obviously has the advantage going into the corner, and then Andy Patton used the momentum on the outside. You know, you're just able to keep the car kind of more wound up as you go through these corners. So, of course, these guys not really having to lift off the throttle too much, and now they're pretty much even down the back straightaway right now. Blake Chapman on the inside of our current leader, Andy Patton, neck and neck as they go through turns 3 and 4.
You can see both on the front stretch and on the back straightaway here that Chapman's not really letting his car drift up on the straight close to our leader Patton, and the reason for that is because he's trying to keep his car in the moisture to get the most drive down that straightaway. He's starting to inch forward here, may have the lead as they cross the finish line.
I think Chapman did lead that last lap, though. You see him almost kind of get clear from Patton in the middle of these corners. You can see definitely Blake has the advantage as they go into the corner. Andy, though, gets it on the outside. Blake leads this lap again. We're just now getting to 6 laps to go before the end of this race. Still neck and neck for our two front leaders. And don't look now, Randy Shreves, our in-race reporter, coming up using the outside line. That looks like he's going to be able to get around Jeff Floro if he's not careful in the next couple laps.
Absolutely making up a lot of ground here. Our top 4 are slowly starting to pull away from the rest of the field, but we've got some great racing from 1st and 2nd, almost side by side still, and then 3rd and 4th going to be side by side very shortly.
Yeah, the two battles we just spoke of, they're both won by one driver over another. So far, it's Chapman winning out over Patton, and then Floro still ahead of Shreves. Shreves still using the outside line here. You see Floro looking to the inside of Patton right now as they head down the backstretch into turns 3 and 4. Oh, leader made contact with the inside wall there. That was Blake Chapman. I think he bit that inside wall, JR.
It looked like he did, Austin, and yeah, it's extremely easy to do. The best guys out here can make that slight mistake and touch that wall, and once you do, it just kills your momentum. Best case, worst case is you go flipping. So Chapman was able to not get involved in the flipping action tonight, but definitely cost him big here.
Yeah, definitely cost him a lot. Luckily for him, like you mentioned, he didn't flip his car, and he kind of recovered quite nicely after that. Still holding on to a top 5, of course, promotes Nick Vickery, that 00 car, into the 4th position. So you see these guys just now took the white flag, means 1 lap to go. Andy Patton brings his car through turns 3 and 4 for the final time. The podium then being completed by our in-race reporter Randy Shreves, and then Jeff Floro in 3rd. We'll go ahead and get you the complete finishing order here in just 1 second. Like we just mentioned, your top 3, Patton, Shreves, Floro completing the podium. Nick Vickery finishes in 4th. Blake Chapman in 5th. Nathan Aldrich comes home in 6th, with Gary Taylor coming home 7th. Joe Canales finishes 8th, with Jeff Barker in 9th. Mike Kramer completes your top 10.
11th place tonight was Nick Shell. 12th place is Chris Schaefer. 13th is Donovan Ross. 14th, Bob DeGood. 15th goes to Andrew Smith. 16th, Carter Jameson. 17th is Roger Craig. 18th is John Rayner. And it looks like in 19th would be Austin Marlett. And last place tonight would go to Pat Boyce.
Yeah, fantastic race. The inside really came back a lot earlier than I'm sure a lot of drivers expected, and then it was way faster than the outside line there at the end. We'll wait just a second before our race winner and the rest of the podium can come up here and join us in the booth, though. I do think, though, while we're waiting for them to come up here, join us in the booth and be ready for interviews, our Gambler Motorsports Hard Charger Award should go to Joe Canales. He started the race in 18th and then brought his car home in 8th position, so gained 10 spots. That's the most by far out of any driver, so congrats to Joe. Our race winner, Andy Patno, has joined us up in the booth. Hey, Andy, you got a copy?
I do. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. Not as good as you, though, man. As soon as it looked like, the chances were dashed for your hopes of winning this race, you saw the overall leader, Blake Chapman, make contact with the inside wall and, of course, gift you the win at that point.
Yeah. I had probably a decent third place, because Jeff was going to get me there, too. And, Blake caught that wall.
For sure. Well, you'd rather get him this way than lose him this way, of course. I'm sure he's going to be kicking himself for a while there. But you really managed the entire race only as much as you needed to. We saw you won the pole award. Almost would have completed the Grand Chelem there before Blake kind of pipped you by leading a single lap or two there at the end. But fantastic job all day long just controlling this race.
Oh yeah, he's definitely faster. He's probably the fastest in the league right now of anybody in any car. So anytime you can even race up there with him, it makes me pretty happy just to be able to do that. But he's a master of the bottom. I mean, he's so good at running down there, it's crazy.
For sure, we were talking up here in the booth. Once Blake goes down to the bottom, you best get yourself down there too, because the grip is there and it's going to come up and bite you if you don't get yourself down there. Andy, before we let you go, who do you want to thank for bringing this car home in P1 today?
I just, C2C Racing for putting on this league. This Hometown Heroes, division, especially the 305s, is by far my favorite. My business, A&J Custom Creations, we can do trophies and lights and stuff like that. Anything you might want. And you guys,
I think JR actually,
excellent show.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think JR actually has a piece that was won by him a couple of years ago that you did a fantastic job making. So thank you so much, Andy.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
That was your winner, Andy Patton. I think JR, though, you've caught up with our second place finisher.
I have, Austin. Randy Shreves, our in-race reporter tonight. Man, you started in 6th place and was actually running in 4th in the closing laps there, but you were able to bring it home in second position. Talk us through those closing laps.
Yeah, that was definitely a crazy race there. Tough break for Blake there. Sometimes that wall will jump out and get you. But the track actually went backwards from what I thought. Like, I thought the bottom was going to come in a little later. It was there a lot earlier than what I thought. And right there at the end, that top started to get fast, so I just kept running it and hoping that would get me a couple more spots, and it did.
Yeah, we definitely talked in the booth about you running that higher groove and really looking for that moisture, and definitely you were able to close that gap extremely quickly on those guys there at the end. You talked about the groove kind of moving around. Are you kind of surprised in these 305s that the groove changed as much as it did throughout this short A main?
Yeah, it did change pretty quick. Like it was, there was a middle line there for a little bit, and then the bottom line, it was just really dominant for a while, and then the top came in a little bit, but the bottom was still there. There were multiple grooves to run. They were all pretty quick.
Well, Randy, we want to congratulate you on that second place finish, and thank you again for being our in-race reporter tonight. Who do you want to thank for tonight's run?
I definitely want to thank my team, LGR Motorsports, Alex Bergeron at APR Setup Shop, Coulter West at Redline Race Designs for always making my car look good, One Wish Foundation, Wraps and Stitches, KSB Builders, Finish Line Repair, CD Cinematography, Coast to Coast for always putting on these awesome races, and you guys for the awesome broadcast. You guys do a great job.
We really appreciate it, Randy, and thank you again, man.
Thank you.
Austin, I believe you have now caught up with our third place finisher tonight, Jeff Laurel.
I have. Hey, Jeff, you got a copy?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, great job all night. We saw, obviously, you were one of the three fastest qualifiers and did a great job in your heat, kind of take advantage of where the grip was and when it was in certain places. And then you really did a great job kind of coming up through the field and bringing it home in third place here tonight.
Happy for that, yes.
Jeff, we saw, you were kind of passed by Blake there when you were running in P2 before you ended up finishing, obviously, in third. When Blake went down to the bottom, we saw you kind of racing him. And what's it like just trying to see where the grip is as these races go on?
I'm going a little too deep in 1 and 2, and it's costing me. Every time he gets behind me, he gets down there, he gets at least beside me minimum. I almost hit him when he caught the inside of that wall, man. That was pretty close.
Yeah, that was definitely only about a couple millimeters worth of separation. Obviously, you kept it off the inside wall, though, bringing it home in P3. Is there anyone you want to thank for this run tonight, Jeff?
Glenn Stiers, Oswego Speedway, my wife letting me do it, my son Troy for giving me some tips, you guys for the broadcast, and Roger and his crew.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Jeff. That was Jeff Flaro finishing in P3 here tonight in the 305 Sprint Series. We are going to take a quick break and be back in just a couple minutes for the 360 Sprint Series.
leader in our industry.
The lifetime parts and labor warranty is pretty awesome. Basically, all the parts are covered, the labor and everything.
When we say lifetime, we mean lifetime, and it's supported with money-back guarantees. And with that, you're getting all qualified technicians that are going to ensure that this job is done perfectly and operates perfectly throughout the life of the unit.
Learn more about our Coolray lifetime parts and labor warranty at Coolray.com. Coolray and Carrier. Turn to the experts.
Welcome back, everyone, to the APR Setup Shop 360 Sprint Series here at the beautiful Volusia Speedway Park in Barberville, Florida. We just got done with the 305 Sprint Series, getting now ready for the 360 ones. These cars have a little bit more power, JR.
Yes, sir, they do. You're going to have more torque, more horsepower coming out of that big right rear tire. This is going to be one of those races as we go throughout these sessions. You're going to see the groove move drastically up the track. And, late in the race, you may see those guys that are extremely good back running the wall just because you start to wear the track out up top.
For sure. We'll take a quick, brief second, though, to look at our championship standings for the 360 Sprint Series. You see Randy Shreves in first position with a large gap, about 104 points over second-place driver Nicholas Vickery. By far the best of the rest here. Very tight battle, though, for P2 on back. You see P2 separated by about only 12 points between Vickery and Spengler, and then Blake Chapman sits in fourth place in those standings. Brian Dickens completes your top five. These guys are going to go to qualifying, though, just right now, and then we're going to talk to an in-race reporter, Randy Shreves, when we have a quick second after he's done completing his qualifying laps. See the first drivers right now going out to start completing their laps. No one has put down a lap time so far. You see Jeff Barker, one of the first to do that. Patrick Spengler out there, again, denoting the fastest times per driver, and then the overall fastest denoted by the purple bar on the bottom. So currently Jeff Barker with the fastest lap overall shoots himself up to P1. Boss man Roger Craig in second. Patrick Spengler now pips all these drivers, to take away provisional pole for the moment. You see Kevin Fry up there doing a great job as well.
Spengler putting in an extremely nice lap, so he's got a good 0.06 of a second on the field right now. It looks like it's dropped just a little bit. Kevin Fry closing that gap, but Spengler still maintaining the top. Blake Chapman goes into third place at the moment. Behind him will be Randy Shreves.
Yeah, Chapman and Shreves putting in identical lap times down to the last 1,000th of a second, so definitely need that fourth decimal to show us just how faster Chapman is compared to Shreves at the moment. And then Chapman goes ahead and says, you know what, I don't want to tie, I'd rather take it by 9/1000ths of a second. Patrick Spengler, still the fastest overall driver for the moment. The rest of these drivers going to go ahead and complete their laps as we go through these. Randy Shreves, though, is finally done completing his qualifying lap, so we are going to talk to him for the last minute and some change of qualifying. Hey, Randy, you got a copy?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Randy, we saw what you said about the 305s. Now we're in the 360s. A bit more power in these cars. How do you expect the line to change?
I want to say that there's definitely going to be more of a slider line in these early on. Track's going to definitely go away a lot quicker, get a little slicker. Yeah, I think the bottom's going to be pretty dominant for a minute though, until probably after the heats, and then there'll probably be a little more of a slider line mid track, and once the feature rolls around, more than likely to be around the top.
Randy, we see a lot of the times at the end of these races, you guys are going all the way up almost to the wall. Do you kind of know when it's time to go out to the wall, or does the groove kind of naturally get further and further from the bottom?
Yeah, you can normally see the little line forming up there when the cushion starts building up. That's when you normally would go up there, when that cushion's built up pretty big, and until that goes away.
For sure. Well, Randy, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck as the evening progresses.
All right, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
That was our in-race reporter, Randy Shreves. We are going to now get to the starting lineup for heat number 1, presented by the Super Dirt Car Series. Joe Canales starts in first, followed by Bob Everston in second. Andy Patton lines up in third, and Patrick Spengler starts fourth.
Yeah, Roger Craig will be starting fifth in this heat. Alongside him will be Mike Cranmer, and rounding out the field, seventh place would be Jeff Floro.
Just a quick reminder that, as always, the top 4 in all these heats are inverted. That's why you see pole sitter Patrick Spengler lining up in fourth right now, just to kind of liven up things, to give us a little bit more of a race within a race, just to see how those drivers who are fastest in qualifying can make their way up through the field. And then, of course, as always, the top 4 cars in these heats advance on to the feature event in just a couple minutes. If you don't make it to the top 4, you're going to be relegated to the last chance qualifier, and then you have to be finishing within the top so many cars in that to make it into the feature event. But we see the Steve King Foundation pace truck still hasn't moved yet off the front straightaway here. Of course, the Steve King Foundation, just in case you folks at home don't know a whole lot about that, the Steve King Foundation was formed to help the dirt track racing community across the country by providing financial assistance to drivers, pit crew members, racing officials, track operations personnel, or the immediate families of those individuals who may suffer from illness, injury, or death. You can check them out at stevekingfoundation.org. Just waiting for the rest of the field to kind of pack up here and grid before we go ahead and get the race started. Only one driver, though, has not gridded up so far. I believe that's Jeff Floro, so he might be experiencing some technical difficulties, but the race should be getting going here because the 2-minute countdown has run out, so that's why you see pole sitter Joe Canales start inching forward down the front straightaway, and of course the Steve King Foundation pace truck scoots away down the front stretch, so it looks like Jeff having some technical difficulties here. Hopefully he can make it before the race gets too far into the session. He will have to start from pit row, but not the worst, of course. It is better to start this race so you are at least in the last chance qualifier, JR.
Absolutely, you don't want to miss out on that. You would definitely, as well as everybody else in this race, be able to transfer into the A main. He's going to have a little bit of a longer path tonight to do so.
But the top 4 do advance all the way into the A main, and Jay, it kind of just relieves a lot of stress from a driver to know that you've already made it. There is no chance you can go home.
Yeah, absolutely. So dirt racing is usually the type of racing where you have to get your elbows out sometimes, and the more time you're on the track, the more opportunity there's going to be for contact to be made. So you definitely want to get it done early. If you can transfer in on these heats, it's a big advantage. Get your mindset right. You can start to focus on that A main a lot earlier.
For sure, the Steve King Foundation pace truck leading the drivers through turns 3 and 4 for the final time before we take the green flag. Caution flags not going to be a factor in these heat races, so this is the last time these guys are going to see that pace truck for the foreseeable future until we get to the B main if they make it, and then for sure the feature event. Barney the Flagman waves the green flag, and these guys rocket down towards 1 and 2. Still Noah's Ark style. Canales not able to get a huge jump over the rest of the field, but he is now clear as you see. Oh man, that was a hard hit to the inside from our outside pole sitter there of Bob Everson. So Everson, excuse me. So hopefully he can make another driver hard into the outside wall. I think that time it was Mike Cranmer.
The wreck with Everson hurt me, Austin, watching that one, but these cars are extremely hard to see out of. They have big wings as we see a battle for the lead here between Spangler and Canellis, but yeah, Everson just tried to get a run from the top side down to the bottom on our leader and just clipped the guy that was looking to his inside, so it's extremely difficult to tell who is around you and exactly where they're at, and things happen extremely fast in these cars.
Yeah, Patrick Spangler, of course, setting the fastest lap of the race so far. You can see that denoted by the purple lap on the left-hand side of your screen. You can, of course, see the gap. So the first 3 cars pull it away by quite a large amount. Jeff Flora, though, was able to make the race. You can see only 1 lap down, so it's a race between he and Andy Patton right now for the final transfer spot. Otherwise, Jeff is going to start on pole in the B main. Last chance qualifier in just a couple minutes here once all these heats are done. Currently on lap 6 of 8 right now. Still Spangler ahead of Canales and then Craig and JR. This is kind of the same situation we saw to the drivers in our last chance qualifier.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, the top 3 for sure are the only ones on the lead lap. They know that they're transferring in, assuming they don't do anything in this next lap to hurt themselves permanently. So, yeah, just a good reconnaissance type heat race for them, be able to fill out the track, move around. You see Spangler actually running some different grooves just to try to see how that's working out for him.
Yeah, you can see seeing how the bottom groove does in the turns 3 and 4. But he's going to take the checkered flag here in heat number 1. Canales, Craig, and Patton going to be the 4 drivers advancing automatically to the A main. The 3, though, that are going to have to go through the last chance qualifier are Everson, Cranmer, and Floro. But we'll go ahead and get you guys your heat number 2 starting lineup order. Of course, this heat presented by Pep Partners. Chris Schaefer lines up on pole, followed by Brendan Lacey to his outside. Brian Dickens lines up in 3rd with Kevin Fry starting 4th.
Starting 5th in this heat is Bob DeGood, and in 6th place, rounding out the field, is Andrew Smith.
Even less competition as the heats go on, JR. This time only 2 drivers are going to have to go through the last chance qualifier, so kind of relieves some pressure if you're the first 4 starting guys to kind of know that even though you're starting up inside the top 4 cars, there's not a whole lot of cars that can pass you that you'll have to pass back before the end of the race.
Yeah, absolutely, and only 8 laps in the heat. You know, if you get a good start at the beginning and hold a pretty wheel, that it's going to be hard for those guys in the back to really try to make some passes and some moves on you, especially with the way the moisture is in this track right now. We don't have a ton of grooves. Definitely the 360 opens up the opportunities to be able to move around the track, but the more moisture that's in that track, the less opportunity you have to run those different lines. So this is the time where you definitely want to be up front, and if you're up there, you want to maintain it and not let those guys by you.
That's right, JR. And even though you do mention that the lanes kind of get wider and wider because this car opens up more grooves for running with the kind of power and traction it gets, we'll see guys go all the way up to the wall. It doesn't mean a whole lot of lanes are open otherwise. And tell us about how that's the kind of the thing here where you get kind of 1 lane on the outside and 1 lane all the way down on the inside.
That's just the way the moisture works out in the track, and the outside is pretty straightforward, running right up against that cushion, getting the most grip that you can out of the right rear tire. The inside line's a little more tricky. We've seen it all night how guys try to get right up against that wall because that's where your left sides can really grab into that and moisture and bite into it to get the car to rotate, and it's very, very tricky, but that's the 2 lines we're going to see here.
Green flag flies on the field here. You see Schaefer and Lacey rocket down into turns 1 and 2, still neck and neck for the lead here. You see that number 23, though, of Schaefer trapped down on the inside. We'll see if he can make it here. He is going to be able to clear to the lead, but you see Lacey kind of cut back on him, do the old over-under, going to do a slide job now to retake the lead as Lacey in that number 414 car kind of forced Schaefer into the outside line. Don't look now, though, because here comes Fry in that number 21.
Fry definitely capitalized on the racing of the two guys up front there, but Lacey's continuing to do the crossover moves, and this is one of those tracks where you can do some amazing crossovers, almost contact between Lacey and Fry going into 3.
I think there was contact there between Lacey and Fly. You see now the other two cars that started in the top 4 up, Schaefer and Dickens, kind of getting closer and closer to this picture, creeping into it right now. Huge checkup, though, that Fry had to make, and now you see Schaefer all the way down on the bottom. There was contact between another two cars. That forces Lacey into the pit road wall.
Absolutely did. Just something he wasn't a part of there, but ended up paying the ultimate price and hitting the wall there. So he will have to take a different path to try to get into the A main tonight. But up front, we continue to see Schaefer and Lacey put on a great show here, battling on side by side.
Yeah, these guys keep trading slide jobs and over-unders to keep fighting for the lead. Very unfortunate, though, for Kevin Fry. He'll definitely have to go through the last chance qualifier. Luckily, he had a lot of speed in these cars, so he should be able to make something happen before the night is over. But we keep seeing this battle for the lead. They're going to come by and take the white flag this time. Neck and neck, though.
Still side by side, coming off of turn 4 here. Lacey's got a slight advantage as across the start-finish line. He's trying to do that slide job that Randy Shreves talked about in the opening. But yeah, Schaefer coming back on the outside hard here.
Yeah, you saw Lacey kind of keep his car down at the bottom checkup just before entering the corner to make sure that Schaefer couldn't have anything on the inside. Lacey, of course, taking the victory here, followed by Schaefer and Dickens completing your podium finishing order. We'll go ahead and get the rest of the cars here up on screen to show you that information. The rest of the field, of course, completed by Andrew Smith, and then Bob DeGood, Kevin Fry, Randy Shreves going to be the drivers. Excuse me, Andrew Smith, Bob DeGood, Kevin Fry going to the last chance qualifier. Heat number 3 lineup order on your screen, though, presented by the World of Sports podcast. Jamie McCarron starts on pole, followed by Jeff Barker in second. Kyle Moonen starts third, and Blake Chapman starts fourth.
Yeah, starting 5th in this heat is Barry Goldner, and 6th place alongside him will be Nathan Aldridge.
JR, we saw a fantastic battle in heat number 2 between the first two drivers, and that kind of trading a lot of slide jobs. And it was honestly going to be a battle between the top 4 cars. Has the inside lane kind of become as fast as the outside, or was it just kind of a couple of drivers throwing slide jobs, both kind of slowing each other down?
I'm extremely surprised, Austin, that the track was as racy as it was there with as much moisture being in it at the moment. Normally we don't see stuff like that really happen until it wears out a little bit. And, my opinion is I'd like to see the track stay like this going into the A main, because that was putting on some amazing racing. Guys were able to take the lead, and at the same time it allowed the second place guy to try to do a crossover and come back. And we just saw that top 4 positions just under a blanket there, racing hard.
Yeah, that was really great. I think the fans are certainly going to be in for a treat if this continues.
For sure. I think we're going to see similar racing here in heat race number 3. It's going to be good for Barker to try to get, Jamie McCarron to try to get a good jump here on this restart or start of the race to try to get away from these guys and dictate which lane he wants to run.
Yeah, of course, the driver from the Australian-New Zealand region. Steve King Foundation truck pulls down pit road. You see a huge jump for Jamie. Going to be clear down into turn 1. He can use the outside lane if he wants to. Drifts all the way up there. Great start for him as they go down the backstretch, but it looks like Barker inching closer and closer to being on the outside.
Absolutely, trying to run that high line to get the momentum down the straightaways. It looks like McCarron's going to move up and take that lane away in turns 1 and 2. But right now, it looks like we have Moonen working the bottom.
Yeah, Moonen doing a great job down there. Going to take the lead the lap this time. That's very impressive, especially considering the fact he can make the inside line work that fast. And just behind him is Blake Chapman, one of those other drivers that really likes to use the inside lane if he can. Obviously, after that huge mistake on the finishing lap to the 305 Sprint Series, I'm sure he'd like to postmark this day with another win here before the night is over. Kind of redeem himself.
For sure, Austin. And, as we see the top and the bottom lines working here, you can see on the screen here how you got that shiny portion that's right in the middle of the track. That's the portion you want to keep your right rear tire out of. If you hit that, the car's going to over-rotate. You're going to lose a lot of momentum and speed, and it's going to allow the guys just to go right by you.
Yeah, interesting to see that Moonen was able to make that position up by driving on the inside, and then in order for Chapman to kind of catch up to McCarron He used the outside lane. Now back down to the inside lane. We'll see if he throws a slider here to kind of complete the position. The two are sideways as they head down the straightaway. McCarron clear into position number 2, and Chapman just kind of using that inside to help rotate the car. Draws even right now, but still, I don't think this battle is over quite yet.
I think it is. When we come to get the white flag, you're probably going to see Chapman maintain the racing order that he is doing until they get to turn 3, and you may see a slide job coming here on McCarron.
I think so. Luckily, though, for Chapman, he was kind of able to clear into second. McCarron over-rotates the car, tries to do the over-under, gets extremely close with it. Was within half a car length of taking that second position from Chapman. Moonen, though, winning your heat number 3 race, so great job on his part. We'll go ahead and give you guys the finishing order for heat number 3. Kyle Moonen came home in first position, followed by Blake Chapman, and then Jerry McCarron rounded out your podium, JR.
Absolutely. Jeff Barker coming home in 4th, Nathan Aldridge in 5th, and Barry Goldner in 6th place. The bottom 2 there definitely going to have to go to the last chance qualifier.
For sure. Now we get to your heat number 4 starting lineup, presented by Maurer Farm Management. Nick Schell lines up on pole with Nick Vickery to his outside. Donovan Ross starts in 3rd, and Randy Shreves completes the top 4.
Yeah, starting in 5th in this heat race will be Richard Holland, and alongside him in 6th place will be Gary Taylor.
Another great battle all the way down to the finish there, JR. This time, though, the battle that we looked at for the entire race was no longer the battle for the lead, but now the one for second position. Does that mean third position is going to be hotly contested for this race, or do you kind of expect all these guys to be fighting until the very end?
Yeah, I think these guys are going to probably fight to the very end. You've got some really good drivers in this race. And they definitely want to have the best track position going into that A main tonight. So every position counts in that respect. Every position's not one position in the A main. It's going to move you down 4 rows or 4 positions, excuse me. So, it's going to be very, very hard fought, I think, here. And the track is in a great state right now. It's putting in some great side-by-side racing. Still very tricky on the bottom. I think you saw those guys having to be very careful. But ultimately, I think the bottom was working extremely well and able to take the lead there.
Yeah, the bottom definitely coming in clutch for some drivers. I expect it'll get faster and faster as the night goes on, and I look for that outside lane to kind of also move further and further up the track. Usually, John Heinel mentioned just how much he wants to use the absolute outside retaining wall of this track and kind of use that as a good cushion. That's where the cushion goes. It's where the high line is as we finish off this race. But, of course, the Steve King Foundation pace truck pulls down pit road to wait for the green flag from Barney the flagman. He waves it now. The car's rocket down into turns 1 and 2. Huge jump for the outside. I don't know what the inside line was doing there, but you see Vickery and Shreves now to the outside 1 and 2 right now.
Very surprising, the outside line getting that good of a jump. A little bit odd there, but Vickery does have the lead. Behind him is Shreves, and right now you have a battle for 3rd with Shell and Ross.
Yeah, these guys still duking it out. Right now, single file all the way down through the field. Randy Shreves really packing it into turns 3 and 4 that time. Right now, the battle is, I would reckon it's for 4th position, to be honest, where all the guys are mostly packed together. Nick Vickery, though, out front by about 0.3 of a second. I don't think Randy Shreves is going to be able to do much for the next couple laps or so. He's really got to get his car closer and closer, so he's working on that right now. Inching, though, towards Nick Vickery.
Yeah, you definitely see Shreves starting to move up. I also see Shell behind him really starting to push that groove a little bit higher and higher. And, as this track wears out, that's going to be the fast way around here. The higher up you can drive your car up against that cushion, the more speed you're going to get and momentum you're going to carry down the straightaways here.
Yeah, these guys all still kind of holding serve with one another. You saw Ross try and pull some kind of move on the inside there of Nick Schell. Not quite able to make it work, though. That's the first battle we see currently contested, at least somewhat hotly, for position. So the battle's still heating up as this race goes on. And, of course, only the first 4 drivers advance. If you don't make it through right now, you are going to have to go on to the consolation races, of which there is one of. I don't think we have enough drivers to send anyone home at the moment, so everyone's still going to make the field. But, of course, if you do finish in the top 4, every single position, like you mentioned, JR, worth about 5 spots. We see Ross and Shell right now battling for 3rd.
Yep, they're continuing to battle for that 3rd spot. They're going to want to be careful here. They don't want to race side by side too much, or that's just going to allow Taylor and Holland to really close up on them, and that could put them in jeopardy of losing that 4th position.
Yeah, for sure. Nick Vickery, though, going to come home with first position, of course, winning that heat number 4. We are going to get to your heat number 4 finishing order before we go ahead and give you guys a starting lineup for the last chance qualifier. Nick Vickery comes home in first, Randy Shreves in second. Nick Shell completes your podium.
Yeah, finishing fourth in this race is Donovan Ross, taking that final transfer spot. Fifth place goes to Gary Taylor, and sixth to Richard Holland.
Obviously, the B main presented by Chip Bangers Racing. Bob Evertson starts in first with Bob DeGood to his outside. A full Bob front row. Nathan Aldrich lines up third with Gary Taylor in fourth.
Yeah, fifth place is Jeff Flaro. Alongside him will be Kevin Fry in sixth. Seventh place is Barry Goldner. Richard Holland being in eighth place in the starting grid, and rounding out the field tonight in this B main is Mike Cranmer in ninth position.
That's your entire rundown through the field. A full Bob front row as these guys are currently following behind the Steve King Foundation pace truck. We've seen a lot of great battles so far, and I think that time it was really just a matter of the drivers on the outside row getting a huge jump compared to the drivers on the inside. And then from there it was pretty much single file. The first battle we saw was for that fourth and final transfer spot, so we'll have to see if these guys get single file or kind of just keep racing throughout the whole affair here.
Yeah, the track is definitely changing, but yeah, that start definitely changed the tempo of that race and how things played out, being able to go single file very early. After that, I think guys were a little more content, not wanting to do anything too crazy to put themselves in jeopardy of not transferring up front.
For sure, JR, you mentioned there just before we saw the final lap completed of that heat number 4, if those guys fought too hard, the two drivers behind them were going to catch up. So at some point here, I imagine these guys are kind of just going to want to hold serve and kind of finish where they are, unless you are the one driver that won't advance. Only 8 cars are going to advance from this race to the feature, so one driver going to be the odd man out. So far, it's Mike Cranmer in 9th position. We'll see if that changes, though. But green flag in the air from Barney the flagman. Bob DeGood rockets out into first place with Bob Evertson in second right now, that 008 car. So the first 2 cars single file. Make that the first 3 or 4 cars right now as you see Taylor and Aldrich. The first spot right now they're side by side for is that 4th and 5th position. You see Aldrich and Fry racing it out.
Yeah, and remember, Bob Evertson was extremely fast in qualifying, and in his heat race just running into some bad luck there. So I expect him to be able to try to make a move here in a little bit on Bob DeGood, and Evertson continuing to push that groove higher and higher through turns 1 and 2 here.
Yeah, it's a good thing you mentioned that, JR, because just as soon as you were done saying that, Everson went ahead and put in a race fastest lap. You saw that denoted by the purple time on the left-hand side of your screen. You can see those keep coming up each and every time these drivers complete a lap. You'll see the lap time that they just made, as well as the gap right now, the furthest right-hand column on that left-hand side of your screen. So it's still DeGood, then Everson, Taylor, and Aldrich.
You can see Evertson on DeGood is actually trying to search around a little bit, trying to move around. He's tried the bottom a few times, slid up, and they're actually trading positions on who runs the high and who runs the low line each time through the corners.
Yeah, showcasing that again. If we could just get a battle of these first 2 cars, we'd see this kind of working, especially on this third TV camera angle. You can see both these drivers changing the inside line to the outside. You saw Evertson kind of look low, pull the slider on DeGood. They're wrecking behind him, though. Kevin Fry involved. Barry Goldner just barely sneaking through. Holland, Aldrich, and I think Taylor cut a piece of that as well.
Absolutely. So that's great news for the guy that was in 9th place. He's going to be able to pass a lot of cars here, but among the guys that wrecked, it's going to be interesting to see who can get back going and not finish last in this race so they can transfer.
Yeah, great news too for Jeff Flaro, the driver we saw have a lot of problems in his earlier heat. He was supposed to be the last driver to start in heat number 1, but unfortunately had a lot of problems starting that race and was too many laps down at the end of it to continue or even advance. He kind of got close, and then I think something else, mechanical side, took him out of contention. But we see the white flag being waved, which means there's 1 lap to go. We'll focus now on our leader, Bob Evertson. Fantastic job on his part. The Bob front row finishing 1 and 2. Bob Evertson over Bob DeGood, followed by Barry Goldner. Mike Cranmer from 9th to 4th place, so he will not be the odd man out. That unfortunately falling to Nathan Aldrich. The B main results are as follows. Bob Evertson finishes in first place with Bob DeGood in second, Barry Goldner in third, and Mike Cranmer finishes in fourth.
Yeah, finishing fifth in the B main tonight was Jeff Flaro, Kevin Fry in sixth place, Richard Holland in seventh, Gary Taylor coming home in eighth, and unfortunately for Nathan Aldridge finishing ninth tonight and not transferring into the A main.
Yeah, heartbreak there for Nathan. He really had no place in that wreck, kind of just in the bad spot at the right time, and unfortunately for him, does not make the feature event. These drivers right now all going out for their warm-up here, and this is especially crucial if you were one of the first guys in that earlier heat to go ahead and advance, because this track has changed a lot over what these guys were used to in that first heat. You can see just how much wider the groove is now overall.
Absolutely, you can see it from our aerial view there, how much the cushion is moving further and further up the track. And if you were in those first two heat races and transferred in, you're definitely going to want to get out on this track and put as much laps as you can in, and try to race around other guys during this practice session, because, like you said, the track's completely changed from where it was in those opening heats.
Yeah, and of course this warm-up gives us a great opportunity to talk once again to our in-race reporter, Randy Shreves, driver number 56 car. Randy, of course you're out there getting another good feeling for this track. Does it feel a lot different compared to when you were out there earlier?
Yeah, it definitely feels a lot slicker. Can definitely feel the car sliding sideways more. A little harder to get grip unless you throttle it. But it's actually not too bad, though. It actually feels pretty good out. The track looks good. There's a couple different grooves. I think it's going to be some good racing.
Yeah, Randy, you know, we primarily see in these 360s the groove continue to push higher and higher. You can still see some moisture down on the inside against the wall there. How big is that going to be late in the race?
Yeah, once this top goes away, the bottom's definitely going to come in, and definitely got to use your throttle and be a little bit more patient running down there to get that all the grip you can.
Randy, before the warm-up finishes off here, what do you think is going to happen in the race here? You expect the bottom group to come back in, or are you guys kind of going to be wall riding the rest of this race?
What was that last question? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
No worries at all. Do you expect the high line to go all the way up towards the wall?
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be up there for a little bit, but it could also be like the last race too. You know, the bottom could be there first, and then the top will show up. But here you just never know. So you just kind of got to look for it and figure it out as quick as you can.
For sure, Randy. Thank you so much for your time. We'll let you go ahead and get back to what you're doing. Best of luck, man.
All right, thank you.
That's going to bring us to our ABR Setup Shop 360 Sprint Series main event feature here. Patrick Spengler going to line up on pole, followed by Brendan Lacey to his outside. Row number 2 is going to be made up of Kyle Moonen and Nick Vickery in 4th. Joe Canales lines up 5th with Chris Schaefer in 6th. Blake Chapman lines up in 7th with Randy Shreves in 8th. Roger Craig, the boss man, lines up in 9th with Brian Dickens at his outside in 10th. Jamie McCarron lines up in 11th and Nick Schall in 12th.
And starting 13th in tonight's A-Main is Andy Patton in the 87 car. 14th is Andrew Smith. 15th, Jeff Barker. 16th will be Donovan Ross. 17th is Bob Evertson. 18th is Bob DeGood. 19th, Barry Goldner. 20th, Mike Cranmer. 21st, Jeff Flaro. 22nd, Kevin Fry. And rounding out the field in the last row will be Richard Holland in the 23rd position and Gary Taylor in the 24th position.
The field still pacing around this track behind our Steve King Foundation pace truck. Of course, should be in for quite a great night of racing here in this feature event. We're going to get the 1 to go from Barney the Flagman this time by. Of course, that means the lights go out on top of the Steve King Foundation pace truck. And these guys right now, JR, you know, this is the main event. This is what they've been racing for all night long, as these more powerful sprint series. And we're really getting into the heat of the championship here. Of course, there is quite a gap between the first and second guys, but it's still all to play for as you go down the field.
Absolutely, all to play for. Several guys, as you looked, third on back, were very tight in the points battle. So guys are going to be looking to make up some positions for sure there. And we got a huge field. This is the most cars we've seen on track all night, Austin. 24 cars. Probably going to have a few cautions, so just going to have to be patient and pay attention to where the track groove is moving around to.
That is one thing we'll have to look out for indeed. You see Patrick Spangler put his foot on the loud pedal uncontested, and into turns 1 and 2 slides up in front of that number 4 car, Lacey behind him, puts Lacey in the wall just a little bit. You see Munino down to the inside, pulls a slide job on Spangler. What a fantastic job to take the lead. Of course, Spangler saw that coming, kind of pulls the over-under on him, pulls a slide job out of his own down into turns 1 and 2.
Absolutely, and we got our first caution on the speedway already on lap 2. We'll have to go to the replay to see who is involved in that one.
We'll check that out to see the cause for caution here with your Coast to Coast Racing replay. It looks like Nick Schell involved in this. Kind of see him going down to the inside here. Oh yeah, he just got turned by the number 5 car of Donovan Ross. Those two cars kind of just getting hooked together. And of course, once you hook in these cars, it's very hard to become unhooked, and kind of just forced them into the outside wall there. So very unfortunate for Schell.
Yeah, unfortunate for sure. It's that's going to put a huge damper on his night, and may even put him to an end. Assuming he had to take a tow back to the pit lane there. But yeah, just some tight racing. And again, while we're under caution, these cars are extremely hard to drive. Number one, number two, they're extremely hard to see out of. You have this giant wing that's sitting on top of the car, and it's very difficult to tell for sure where the guys around you are located. So you may think that a guy is just to the outside of you and think you have room to come up when actually he's already got his left front tire all the way to the outside of you, and contact will be made. So when you're doing a slide job, you have to be extremely conscious of where that guy is and just how much room you have.
Yeah, I mean, you also have to be conscious of when someone is doing a slide job on you to make sure that they're going to clear you or not clear you, so you can keep your foot in it, kind of just make sure they stay down to the inside. It's a great point you mentioned that too, with how big these wings are. You know, almost imagine, you know, you have a big truck that you're driving and you're only about 5 feet tall. Usually you'd want to jack the seat way up in the air, maybe sit on top of a phone book or two, and those two phone books kind of yoinked out from underneath you. So now you're sitting, you can barely see over the wheel, and there's not much visibility on the road surface. It's mostly just sky and clouds. So really puts the whole driving perspective, you know, really in the mind of the viewer here too. We see the Steve King Foundation pace truck dart down pit road. You see the command of the field be gifted back over to Kyle Mooney here, that number 24 car, doing a great job all the way down on the bottom. The camera's still locked though on Patrick Spangler as he's having a fight with Nick Vickery and Brendan Lacey behind these guys. We do have another caution though.
Yeah, and another caution, only 1 or 2 laps down before it starts to come out again. So these guys are definitely having a little bit of an issue getting going here.
Yeah, well, it's the old verbiage, you know, cautions breed cautions. Of course, once you get all these cars packed together, it's kind of hard for them to not have a caution before they get back to unpacked again. This is the replay. It looks like Brian Dickens getting tagged by another car. Hard to tell just who that is based on the number placement. But yeah, a parking lot on the backstretch. Jeff Floro involved. A bunch of guys from our last chance qualifier involved in that too. So kind of an incident mid-pack. And once they block the whole track, there's nowhere these guys can go.
Oh, absolutely not. Several cars upside down and on their sides there. So we've gone from basically 24 cars down to, I believe, only 19 or 20 left running in this race at the moment. So that's going to change the race for sure. It may calm things down. Everybody realizing how early guys have had to exit this race. So hopefully on this next restart we'll get some good laps going early, and guys will single file out just for a moment before they go back to racing.
Yeah, for sure, JR. I think once we see these guys kind of get single filed out here, it is a lot easier to kind of race a lot cleaner than they have been so far, especially considering, you know, you're not 3 and 4 wide as you go through the corner the longer these runs go on. You might be that way for a corner or two when you're battling with some other drivers, but for the most part, the racing becomes a lot cleaner with these coast-to-coast racing league guys, so we should be in for quite a treat once we do get a couple laps into a green flag run here. I expect they'll stay green for quite a good portion of this race after these first 2 cautions.
Yeah, absolutely. And, they're single file on these restarts. Normally that helps, but you can always see some checkups going on, just guys trying to anticipate this start.
For sure. Of course, Kyle Moonen darts back down the front straightaway. Patrick Spangler still in second position, getting extremely close to Kyle as they head down into turns 1 and 2. But don't look now, because here comes Randy Shreves just behind these guys in the sixth position. You see him fighting with a couple other drivers. Blake Chapman just ahead of him in fifth, at number 20 car, and then Brennan Lacey. We saw him make quite a good battle on the outside there in the opening laps of this race, but now these drivers single filed out of here. Just ahead of our leaders, though, is another car. I believe that's going to be Evertston, and that 008 car, the first lap car. These guys are going to have to try and pass. We have another caution, though. Oh yeah, Mike Kramer involved. It looks like he kind of got a piece of another car, and that involved the driver from Canada there. I believe that was, I think, Gary Taylor. Hard to tell, though, from that angle. You don't often see the undersides of these wings, so when you do, you kind of got to question who was involved there. I think, though, that was the number 34 car of Taylor. We'll see in a second, though, once the iRacing timing and scoring gets sorted out. Of course, because the caution laps don't really count, it kind of messes with the timing and scoring when we get going here, but once we go back to green, it should get itself sorted.
Yeah, and Austin, the more cautions that we have here, the more restarts Kyle Moonen has had to make, and I'm sure Patrick Spangler's been paying very close attention on where Kyle is deciding to take off. So it's a disadvantage for Kyle the more cautions that we have, and it's going to be an advantage more and more as we get into this race if we continue to have those cautions with Patrick Spangler and Nick Vickery being in second and third spots there.
Yeah, I think we all have those chances in the races where, you only have so many tricks up your sleeve, and you try to start as early as you can and then as late as you can to try and catch all the drivers, kind of off balance and get away as much as you can before you finally make it down into turns 1 and 2. But there's only so many times you can start early or start late before that guy just kind of, gets out of his own head, and then he's in your head. He knows it because you're kind of off your game, starting either as soon as you can or as late as you can. You really just have to mess with these guys as much as possible.
Absolutely, it's as being the leader, I always say that, the leader should have the advantage on the restart. But with these races and the way the rules are, you can't go until the pace truck is pulled all the way off the track. So you kind of see guys stack up the field a little bit coming to the flag, and you're kind of seeing Moonen do a little bit of that now, just so he has a little bit of a gap to the pace truck, so he can take off when he wants to. But still, that restart zone is smaller and smaller each time you do it.
For sure, and it's really hard to tell, especially you mentioned the visibility problems these guys have. You can never really tell when the iRacing pace truck pulls off, the racing service to make sure you can start whenever you want. But of course, Kyle Moonen, huge advantage though, already about 0.3 of a second before the rest of the field. Patrick Spangler being the first guy to Kyle right now. You can see a very hot battle for the third and fourth position right here between Vickery, Lacey, Chapman, and Shreves. These guys, they throw a blanket over the first, the cars from about fourth place down to seventh.
Absolutely. He saw Spangler on that opening lap try the bottom, but he saw Vickery and Lacey up top making a lot of ground, so he's moved up at the moment, and Lacey goes, if you guys are going to run up top, I'm going to move down to the bottom.
Yeah, when there's this many cars on track all running different lines, if you want to make up any positions, you kind of have to do as Kenny always says, go where they ain't, and just kind of make up any positions you can in the lines that you're given. So you see that's what Brendan is doing right now. Interesting to see that Kyle Moonen was using the bottom lane for the last couple laps. Now he's put the car back up on top, and unfortunately for these guys, there is another lap car just ahead of them. I think it's the number 34 car of Gary Taylor, one of the drivers involved in that most recent caution.
To watch where that car's going. I believe he pulled off the track there, so no harm, no foul. But we have another caution, Austin.
Yeah, you see Nick Vickery really getting sideways there. I think he made some contact with Brandon Lacey before the caution was thrown. I think this is Gary Taylor coming to pit road here. Oh yeah, he tried to get it slowed down and just couldn't rotate the car onto pit road, hit those tire barriers, and that is going to be the cause for caution here.
Yeah, that is definitely one of the bad things about these cars. They turn on throttle, having that big right rear tire, and anytime you're just off the throttle completely, trying to turn the car at a slower speed, it just does not want to do what you want it to do. So, yeah, just coming into the contact with the end of pit or the entry of pit wall there.
Absolutely not. These things plow like a dump truck when your foot isn't on the throttle, and you kind of can't be on the throttle when you're slowing down to bring it into the pits, and that's why we see these guys not making green flag pit stops. So when you do want to pull up the track, you have to be very careful and very ginger bringing it down there. And unfortunately, Gary Taylor has manually disconnected. I think he used this one fast repair after that wreck we saw earlier. Luckily, he didn't lose any laps, thankfully, because we do not count caution laps, but he did manually disconnect after that second wreck, definitely putting him out of contention for the rest of the night here.
I do want to mention before we go back green, we briefly saw Blake Chapman trying to make some big moves on the bottom of the track, and he almost had everybody cleared up into second position and just could not pull the slide job off. And when he missed that, he dropped all the way back to, I believe, fifth position again. So he was definitely making up a lot of time on the bottom, using that bottom lane while everybody's stacked up top. But when you try to do that slide job and you don't clear it, it hurt him big time there.
Yeah, definitely knocks your self-confidence. It's really aggravating as a driver, but we are about to go back green here. You see Kyle Moonen really laying off from the back of that Steve King Foundation pace truck for right now, so he is going to lay back, and again, trying to just open that book more and more of all the secrets he can use to start at different times. Huge jump, though, for him. Not as large as he would have wanted. Patrick Spangler really close to him right now. The first two on the outside line. Nick Vickery goes down to the low side along with Blake Chapman. You see the number 4 car of Lacey up top.
Yep, most of the guys continuing to run that top lane, trying to get the right rear tire just on top of that cushion to get the most grip. But you continue to see Vickery and Chapman working the bottom here, trying to make up some ground. Chapman moving back to the outside.
Yeah, Chapman goes back to the outside. Nick Vickery still holding pretty constant on that low side. He was passed, though, by Brendan Lacey. Now he's going to be passed by Blake Chapman as well. He's going to have to be really careful, too, before he gets passed by our in-race reporter, Randy Shreves. Randy using the outside. You see Nick being freight trained. He's still down on the inside. I'm sure if he'd like to, if he wants to, he'd rather be up top, but still kind of holding the inside there. You see Lacey flirting with that outside cushion.
Pushing that cushion up as far as you possibly can. You can see his right rear tire almost making contact with the wall as he enters the corner, and that's extremely tough to do. But he's been making it work and been maintaining that speed there. So a lot of speed there. You can see him get into the wall just a little bit. It's going to allow Chapman to close in on him.
Yeah, Chapman getting closer and closer. Nick Vickery has fallen all the way down to 5th place right now. He was running 3rd, just for reference, before we went back green there. So you can see definitely what being on the inside line kind of did to him and stalled his momentum. Right now he's gone back up to the top side. I was going to say I hear the Jaws theme playing, but our leader, Kyle Moonen, just pulled back out in front of Kyle Spangler. Patrick Spangler, excuse me, to the tune of about 6/10 so far. These guys still pretty spread apart. Not a whole lot of close battles on track. We have another caution, though. I believe that's Donovan Ross flipping down the backstretch. Oh, yeah, looks like Roger Craig just getting a little bit too sideways, over-rotated the car, and there's really nowhere for Donovan to go. It's really hard to change direction or check up extremely fast in these cars, so just involved in a mistake from another driver there is Ross, so very unfortunate for him. You can see him down on pit road, either getting towed, probably going to have to use that fast repair, JR.
Yeah, absolutely going to have to use it for that contact, and you know, these cars, they're dirt cars, and they don't stop so well. So even if you have the opportunity to get onto the brakes, when you see a guy spinning in front of you, it's not going to pay off most of the time. There's just not a whole lot that you can do. You can try to sling your car sideways and try to hit them side to side, but even then, you got open wheel cars in these sprints, so it's normally not going to work out well for you, and it's just a bad situation that we saw Donovan Ross be in there.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that too, JR. You know, you have two options at that point. Either kind of just hit them head on, T-bone them, do whatever you have to. Don't divert your course because you couldn't anyways. or sometimes you can't really just pitch the car sideways and try to door them, but even then it leads to a lot of problems, given that these cars are open-wheeled, like you mentioned, and that can lead to some suspension damage.
Absolutely. It does not take much, as we've seen from past races with this series, to knock your toe or your alignment out. And once you do that, it's going to be a hard night ahead of you because it's going to offset your wheel. And you're just not going to have the feel that you need to be able to run the fastest line around this track.
For sure, the wheels won't even be aligned the proper way, so it's kind of hard to even go down the straightaway as fast as your competitors. But we see Kyle Moonen kind of lagging back from that Steve King Foundation pace truck, starting as early as he has all night long. It's a huge jump over the rest of the field, clear already to the tune of about 3, 4, now 5/10 of a second as they go down into turns 1 and 2. Oh man, Spangler in the wall, pretty hard, nasty hit for him. You can see he's passed right away by Lacey and Chapman.
Job not completely wrecking the car there. The car was wanting to wall right a little bit, and he was able to get it pulled back down and not lose but just a couple of spots there. So he's recovered back to 4th place, but Chapman has moved up into 3rd, and the leader has really checked out almost to a second.
Yeah, Kyle's doing a great job checking out to the rest of the field now, 0.8 of a second. And Patrick's got to be careful here because you see our in-race reporter, Randy Shreves, down to his inside. And if Patrick makes a single another mistake, starts to get the car to wall ride again, he's going to be in trouble. You see him right now pouncing on the rear end of Blake Chapman, trying to advance his position one more. He says, even though I lost second, I'd still like to get it back. You see Chapman, once he kind of got caught by Patrick, now goes down to the inside trying that out.
Absolutely. Chapman trying to make up some ground running the middle lane here at the moment, but it's closing laps. He goes to the bottom in 1 and 2, but you see Lacey and Spangler continuing to rip the top here, coming to 1 to go this time by.
Oh man, we're going to have a green-white checkered finish because there's another caution out on track.
The one thing that Kyle Moonen did not want to see.
Yeah, he's got to be cussing himself out right now because, of course, this means he's going to have to do that whole restart thing all over again. Not quite sure what the cause for caution was there. I don't know if it's Brendan Lacey. We saw, of course, the cameras go to him, so it might have been the cause for caution, but we'll get another look at this. Oh, dear, yeah, Mike Cranmer in the car to his inside. I think that was the 36 car of Barry Goldner, just making some contact as they went down into the corner, kind of door banged there and forced him to the outside there. So, really not the night that Mike wanted.
Absolutely not. And sometimes racing nights go that way, and you just have to accept it, pull yourself together, and go into the next week looking to rebound.
For sure, that's the only thing you can do, and of course that's going to be on the front of his mind until he can go back racing again. It's the worst feeling you can have, to have a bad night of racing, and you kind of know that you don't really have a chance to redeem yourself in these cars in this series for a whole nother week, so that kind of just sits with you for a week. It's the best thing if you do really good and you're proud of yourself and your accomplishments, but it's the worst thing if you're not and if you have a bad race. So obviously both those guys looking to rebound next time out.
So, Austin, I believe this will be the first attempt at a green-white checkered. I believe this league does a total of 2 before they will call the race on that last caution. So, definitely Kyle Moonen's hoping that we get the laps in here and we do not have to do another green-white checkered run.
Yeah, Kyle's absolutely hoping he can just put in 2 clean, green, mean laps, and of course just bring the checkered flag home in this event. You see him put his foot down on the loud pedal. Of course, this is the first time we've seen in a long time someone not named Patrick Spangler lined up second behind him, so it is a kind of his home field advantage in that sense. But you see Chapman, Lacey currently side by side down the backstretch. We're going to keep the camera focused though on our leader as he rounds out turns 3 and 4. Going to take the white flag, so the next flag is going to end the race, whether it's the checkered flag or the yellow flag. Currently though, Moonen out front, Lacey extremely sideways down the back straightaway. You can see a whole mess of cars right now fighting for your podium positions. Lacey on the outside, Spangler in the middle. Chapman though going to come home in 3rd. So your top 3: Moonen, Lacey, Chapman. The rest of the field, of course, crossing the finish line. So your ABR Setup Shop 360 Sprint Series final order is going to be Kyle Moonen in first, Brendan Lacey in second. Blake Chapman rounds out the podium. Patrick Spangler brings it home in fourth position. Randy Shreves rounds out your top five. Jamie McCarron comes home in sixth with Chris Schaefer in seventh. Nick Vickery it finishes in eighth place. Jeff Barker comes home in ninth, and Kevin Fry rounds out your top 10.
Yeah, Jeff Laro will come home in 11th place tonight. Behind him will be Bobby Good in 12th, Andrew Smith in 13th, Nick Shell 14th, Barry Goldner comes home in 15th, Roger Craig 16th, Bob Evertson coming home in 17th, Donovan Ross at 18th, Richard Holland 19th, Mike Cranmer 20th, Gary Taylor comes home 21st, behind him Joe Canellis in 22nd, Andy Patton 23rd, and coming in last place tonight unfortunately is Brian Dickens in the 24th position.
Yeah, really not the night that Brian would have hoped for, but we are going to get a replay for just a couple seconds before our top three finishing drivers coming up to the waiting room to be interviewed by us before the night is over. They're just now making their way in here. We'll go ahead and start with our third place driver, Blake Chapman. Hey, Blake, great job out there tonight. Brought her home in P3. Kind of really just snuck onto the podium there at the end.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm not sure what happened there between Spangler and Lacey and Moon. If he was even involved. I'm not sure what happened there, but I had to take advantage of it. And there at the end, I wasn't just going to follow him around up top. The car didn't really feel very comfortable up there. So I went to the bottom and middle, kind of saw what was down there. And I wish I went to the bottom and 1 and 2 earlier, but there's definitely nothing down there in 3 and 4. So, yeah, it was pretty one-lane track all night.
Yeah, of course, hindsight being 20/20 at that point, and I'm glad you brought that up too. That it was a pretty one-lane track all night. We did see you kind of work to the bottom there for a little bit, really not make much of it. We saw you make a couple moves for position there as the night went on, and tell us about when you decided to go where and kind of is it just a gut feeling when you go try and look for other lines to see how fast they are?
Yeah, I'd say it definitely is, and experience comes into that decision a little bit too. Just knowing the track and what might come in and when. So, I thought the middle was going to be there a little bit more throughout the race, but I knew it was going to be the top at the end. It just came in a little bit sooner than I thought.
For sure. Blake, is there anyone you want to thank for bringing this car home on the podium tonight?
Yeah, I got to thank all the guys down at Kreitz Sim Racing and Can-Am Racing Team. I got to thank Nathan Aldrich for spotting for me. And I got to thank Epsilon Sprint Wraps. And if you guys are looking for some delicious popcorn, make sure you check out Galen's Gourmet Popcorn. If you use the code CART, you get 15% off at checkout. So definitely go give them a look. And I got to thank you guys for putting this broadcast on. And of course, my parents, grandparents, Steve Bixler, everybody who watches and supports me.
For sure. Thank you so much for your time as well. That was Blake Chapman finishing in third here tonight. I believe J.R. Shepard, though, has caught up with our second place finisher, Brendan Lacey. J.R.
Thank you, Austin. Hey, Brendan, congratulations on coming home in second place tonight. We saw you ripping the top of the track there late in the race especially. Walk us through and tell our viewers how difficult that is to run that top lane right up against the wall.
Definitely sketchy as it gets. That 1 and 2, that little inlet wall that they got designed in this track for some reason, it messes with you on entry, and then you feel like you're just on a flat track on the whole way out, and then the guardrail being there doesn't help nothing either. And 4 builds a real tall cushion out of it, which you can see on the broadcast, and it's just treacherous, but you got to stay up there and you got to run smooth on it, and you just can't really leave it when you got that much momentum.
Absolutely. We've talked about the openings in the wall and how treacherous they are, especially with how the car seems to naturally want to drift that direction a lot of times. Walk us through this race a little bit, and were you surprised any at all that the groove primarily stayed up top all night? The bottom didn't come in as much as we kind of expected it might late.
Yeah, definitely surprised in that. There early, I really like the bottom of this track. I always have. Warm-ups, I was hitting the bottom, running my fastest laps. He's like, I'm going to go out here, but, I know 3 and 4 is so quick up top that it's hard to leave it. So, I was like, let's run the bottom and let's run the top. Well, then teammate got up there mooning, and he ended up starting leading it. Well, then they caught on to that. So I was like, I'm sitting here in 4th. What do you want me to do with it? Because they're running the exact same line. I got to go where they're not. And finally I said, let me just try to carry momentum, stay out of the fence, and put it up on top, and ended up working out for us.
Absolutely did. You had a great run tonight. You started in second place and was able to finish off the race in that position. You didn't stay there the whole race, but you got back into second place, which is a great run for yourself. Tell us who you'd like to thank for tonight's run, man.
Big thanks to Vanderbilt Racing. You know, those guys are a fantastic group. You know, all of us are quick and about anything you can put us in there, here and there. And, you know, Blossy Race Designs for making these good-looking sprint cars we got, you know, being a good sponsor of ours, and, you know, Dirt Doctor Trucking and all the other ones that help us out here at Vanderbilt.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you talking with us tonight, and congratulations again on that second place run.
Thank you, and thank you for the broadcast, boys.
Thank you. That was our second place finisher, Brandon Lacey, tonight. Austin, I believe you've now caught up with our big winner of the A-Main, Kyle Moonen.
That's right, I have. Hey, Kyle, congratulations, first off, on your win here in the 360 Sprint Series. First off, walk me through that race. You really just controlled it from start to finish.
Yeah, it was pretty good race. I wasn't really caring for the cautions at the beginning and really didn't want to see those last two, but thankfully it was, you know, kind of racy enough at the beginning. You could run the bottom and the top still, so that was definitely nice.
Yeah, you know, obviously we hated to kind of see the cautions ourselves because, you know, as the leader, you're kind of dictating when the race gets started. Did you have any more tricks for when you restarted the race, or was that kind of the end of the bag?
I was running out there. I mean, you can only try to, you know, definitely try to change it up a little bit, you know, every time, but there was kind of tough because the green comes out, you know, pretty quick after the pace car gets off the track, so you really don't have a ton of room to work with.
For sure, Kyle, is there anyone you want to thank for bringing this home in victory lane?
Just all the guys at Vanderbilt. Congrats to Brendan on second. It was nice seeing both of us up there, and Ross Krenn at Velocity Race Design, Alex at ABR Setup Shop, and you guys for the broadcast, and everyone for the league.
Well, thank you so much for your time as well, Kyle. Once again, congratulations.
Yep, thank you. Thanks.
Just want to take a quick second to mention our Gambler Motorsports Hard Charger. The award goes to Kevin Fry. Went from 22nd all the way up to 10th, gained 12 spots. So congratulations, Kevin, on that one. We will be right back, though, for the final event of tonight, the C2CRL Hall of Fame Street Stock Enduro, in just a couple minutes. Be right back.
leader in our industry.
The lifetime parts and labor warranty is pretty awesome. Basically, all the parts are covered, the labor and everything.
When we say lifetime, we mean lifetime, and it's supported with money-back guarantees. And with that, you're getting all qualified technicians that are going to ensure that this job is done perfectly and operates perfectly throughout the life of the unit.
Learn more about our Coolray lifetime parts and labor warranty at Coolray.com. Coolray and Carrier. Turn to the experts.
Welcome you back to event 3 of tonight, the C2CRL Hall of Fame Street Stock Enduro. This pre-race is, of course, presented by the Pitside Podcast. The details for this race, extremely simple. We're going to qualify. You get 2 laps over the course of 5 minutes, and then the race is 75 laps. No cautions. You can do whatever you want. Unlimited faster pairs. Going to be more like a demo derby. We'll see more events just like what we're seeing right there happen as these cars keep flipping over one another. These guys just now finally wrapping up practice. The in-race reporter tonight is going to be the newest inductee into the Coast to Coast Racing League Hall of Fame, Roger Craig, also known as the Boss Man. So these guys are going out for qualifying right now. We're going to wait till Roger does his 2 laps to put himself up on the board before we get started. Then we'll bring him in here and ask him a couple questions. We see the first cars, of course, getting out on track. You can see those guys finally out there putting denoted as the green and purple sections out on the track. Preston Kramer right now with the fastest lap. Obviously, the purples mean they are the fastest in the entire session. A green means that they're the driver's personal best lap. So you can see these drivers putting in fastest laps over one another. You see Kramer still up top by a good 10th over Pat Boyce. Nick Vickery comes home now denoted to P4 now that Smith has completed the lap. You see Kemper, Goldner, Dittmer, Patton, Craig, Curtis, and Rayner out there. So far, Canellis, your slowest qualifier. You see Randy Shreves, our old in-race reporter, comes home, puts himself 5th, then denoted back down to 6th from Nick Vickery. Brendan Lacey, we saw him do so well in the last race as well. He's qualified 5th fastest at the moment. Go ahead and let a couple other drivers kind of see where they are speed-wise in this event here. Not too many drivers right now, only 17 in the session. You can see all these drivers have now taken their time. Roger Craig, though, the boss man, has finished his laps for sure. So we'll go ahead and bring Roger in here, ask him a couple of questions. Roger, obviously, this was, you mentioned your choice for the last couple fun races of the season.
Yeah, so we inducted our first 4 members into the Hall of Fame. Very honored to be one of those. And each season, one of those drivers will get to pick a car on a track. And if you watched me racing earlier tonight, you'll know obviously I was brought in as a builder, not as a racer. And so this is my idea. This is a ton of laughs. It's a chance for everybody to get their frustrations out from the season. And it looked like a few guys were practicing earlier in the previous 2 races.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of guys kind of going door handle to door handle, despite the fact those cars didn't have doors. These ones do, though, so they can kind of get to a bit more bumping and grinding. How do you expect this to play? I know you mentioned it's kind of like a roller derby.
Yeah, it's just nuts. It's just you guys just enjoy a roll with it, because we will be. And you don't want to be leading this race. It's 75 laps. You don't want to be leading until about lap 73 or 74, because you're definitely a target when you're up there.
Do you expect someone to be like, outside of the top 10, just kind of going around wrecking people for the fun of it then?
I think you could probably put money on that. A lot of scores are settled here, a lot of frustrations. People take numbers. They might not file protests. They just file numbers away, and tonight's the night where they can get a chance for payback.
Roger, you mentioned 4 guys, yourself included, being inducted into the Coast to Coast Racing League Hall of Fame. How long have you been in this league? Obviously, they call you the boss man for a reason.
It's actually Bass Man, but anyways, I guess I am the boss man too. I started the league. We started out 12 seasons ago with just maybe about 30 drivers. Really honored to be inducted with Terry Landis and Jeff Barker. They were our first 2 champions, and then Stephen Goldner. He was Triple Crown winner. He won our Renegades, our A division race 3 seasons in a row. So and he's been around since the beginning. So really honored to be brought in with all of those guys. And we started out with 2 races on a Monday night. Now we're up to 21. Next season will be 21 races, broadcasting 5 nights a week. So it's just crazy the way it's grown. It's a real great community, and we've raised over $14,000 for charity, which is, I think, that the biggest thing for most of us about this racing.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, the opportunity to give back pretty big in the racing community, and you guys really showcasing what it means to be a good, heartfelt group of guys that race clean and fair and have a lot of fun each and every night you guys are out here. So thank you so much, Roger.
My pleasure. And just keep your eye for Preston Cranmer. I will be out to obliterate that car with my beer can here. My beer can will be pretty much crumpled by the end of the night.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for your time, Roger. Best of luck tonight.
Yeah, thanks for the broadcast, guys. Really appreciate what you do.
That was the Bass Man, Roger Craig, in that number 747 racing machine. We get now down to 0 seconds on the clock before the race starts. He'll be starting in the 14th position, but we'll go ahead and get you guys the starting lineup for this final event of the night. The Hall of Fame Street Stock Enduro. Preston Cranmer going to qualify on the pole. Pat Boyce starts to his outside. Nick Vickery starting in the 3rd position, and Andrew Smith rounding out row 2 in 4th. Jeff Flero starts 5th with Brennan Lacey in 6th. Randy Shreve starts 7th with Jeffrey Kemper to his outside in 8th. Barry Goldner starts 9th, and Brandon Dittmer rounds out your top 10. JR?
11th place tonight, rolling off on the field, will be Joe Canellis. 12th place goes to Andy Patton. 13th will be Nathan Aldridge. 14th will be Roger Craig, the guy we just talked to, leading these group of guys around each and every week. 15th is Bob Curtis. 16th, John Rayner Jr. 17th, Mike Cranmer. And rounding out the field tonight will be Kyle Moonen in the 18th position.
That was your starting order. Preston, of course, doing a great job to qualify his car on the pole. And Mike, if we could just get a quick look at this car before it's, of course, crumpled, you can see the face of the Bass Man on the front of his car and on the side as well. That's Roger's face. So Preston, obviously, probably the best scheme of the night. And how about that color purple, too? Very reflective. I'm kind of digging that as well.
Looks great underneath the lights here, but yeah, I think Roger made it clear he's going to make that car a target tonight because his photo is being presented on it. But Austin, I don't think in this type of a race it really matters where you start. I think everybody's in danger in this race. I have no idea how it's going to play out, but I think you're going to have to be somebody that is fast but also smart and knows how to stay away from the other competitors.
Well, I think, you know, as fast and as smart as you are, you kind of have to be the guy with the most luck and the guy who's made the least amount of enemies right now. I think if you want to be anyone, it's kind of like a Kenny Schrader or a Martin Truex Jr., someone without a whole lot of enemies, kind of liked by the entire field. So no one is necessarily trying to take you out unless you're in the wrong position at the wrong time. So I think we're going to see a lot of wrecks here. And of course, obviously, Preston doing a great job of presenting himself as the target for a couple guys here looking to take out the Bassman's face. The Steve King Foundation pace trick, of course, leading the field through turns 3 and 4 for the final time. Going to give command of the field over to that that fantastic-looking Bassman painted car driven by Cranmer. He puts his foot on the loud pedal, uncontested down into turn 1, and I think we're going to see the wreck start pretty much immediately here.
I think guys are going to start to go after each other. They're not going to be friendly or give each other any room at all. We see some argy-bargy down the backstretch there, Austin.
Yeah, I think that's Jeff Flaro getting a little bit friendly there with Smith as they go down the backstretch. Still Preston Cranmer out front, giving the Bassman Roger Craig a really good ride on the front and sides of that machine. And they're 3 wide going through turns 1 and 2 on the second lap here. Already the bumper to the back of Flaro from Smith. Though those guys looking to fight it out continuously here. Still, though, Cranmer out front as they go ahead and start lap number 3. No huge wrecks so far. No one even down on pit road, forced to take their faster pair. Fastest lap, though, from Lacey in that 414 car.
Absolutely, guys in those top 4 positions putting in some good laps right now. Those guys are actually probably in the best spots at the moment because they don't seem like they're wanting to interact with each other too much and they're pulling away from everyone else. But if they start to catch some traffic, that could be problems for sure, Austin.
Yeah, Nick Vickery makes his way all the way to the back bumper now to the inside of Cranmer as they head down into turns 3 and 4 just before they go to start lap 5. You can see Brendan Lacey tucked right up under. Oh man, they're wrecking as they go down the front stretch. Preston says, I don't want you taking the lead, Nick. I'd rather have it for myself. And look at Brendan Lacey, just kind of sneaks through. They're already, though, having to kind of weave their way through some lap traffic. You can see the first of those, Andy Patton, that number 87 car. Oh man, that was quite the slide job there from Cranmer.
These guys are they're starting to get a little antsy, probably a little irritated with each other or reminded of something that may have happened earlier in the season, and we see Cranmer there being turned earlier.
Yeah, the wrecks have already started. So far, it's Lacey out front. Then the number 83 car just behind him of Brandon Dittmer kind of sneaked past Preston Cranmer. I don't think he's going to be passed by anyone else unless he wrecks them or kind of just misses them in the melee here. And of course, we have a car spinning down the backstretch. That's the number 27 car. Actually, that might be wrong on that call. Yeah, not quite sure who that was. Of course, these drivers running very unfamiliar paint schemes. Looks like, yeah, Mike Cranmer and the number 70 car kind of getting himself a little bit crossed up down the backstretch. We go back to look at Preston Cranmer, that number 07 car, still your last podium position. Go ahead and look at Kyle Moonen. Great looking, almost throwback there, the Dale Senior Wrangler colors.
Very cool paint scheme to see on one of these dirt street stocks for sure. And Austin, I think as long as guys are kind of running in a decent position and just trying to lock some laps right now, they're going to try to stay a little bit clean. But what if you're one of those guys like Cranmer who's already had some bad luck? You think you start trying to target some guys here?
Yeah, obviously, as soon as my race is over, I'm probably going to go ahead and look to affect the races of other drivers, especially if they maybe might have done me wrong earlier in the season. If you pull a bad slide job, this is the time to be taken out for that sin of dirt racing, if you will, or if you run me pretty hard or run me into the wall, I'm definitely going to take you out here. So I think it kind of depends. You might race the first couple laps clean, but as you get further down in the race, it becomes who's got the cleanest car I can dirty up.
Yeah, and right now we're watching Nick Vickery on the screen here. He's kind of settled into that 6th, 7th place after he had his spin on the front stretch earlier. So I think he's probably just trying to find a spot to run in. away
Roger
from
Craig
some
just
of the
in
other
front of
guys.
the car that bears his face, though, Preston Kramer. I think he might have been sandbagging to try and make sure this car could catch back up, and we'll have to see what happens between these two guys. I don't think Roger intends on letting him by.
I'd say definitely not, based on the interview we heard earlier. So he's probably.
Preston's going to put the bumper to the back of him right here. They're wrecking down the backstretch. Now they keep it clean. Camera still focused, of course, on the battle between Smith and Nick Vickery as they head on to the front stretch, just a straightaway behind these guys. Oh, we see Roger Craig makes very hard contact with the 07 and Preston Kramer, forces himself into the outside wall. I definitely expect a box slide job here from Roger, see if he can get into this corner, take him out. Not quite, though, not going to make anything happen. I think Preston's going to try and do his best to pull away here.
I think Preston's probably going to be safe until he comes back around.
Oh, that's Mike Kramer facing the wrong way. Roger Craig goes in, gives him a good old head-on collision just for good measure. Going to flip Mike on his lid there. Roger tries to flip it back over, but nothing doing. We're going to go ahead and look at Preston again. Still in that third position, though, but racing with Roger has let the rest of the field behind him catch up. You see drivers like Nick Vickery on his tail. Nick, of course, still locked in that battle between Joe Canellis and Smith.
Absolutely, and we spoke that Kramer was probably going to be safe because he was getting away from Roger there, but he may encounter Roger in the next few laps based on that spin that happened. So this is not going to continue to be a clean race for him. I don't believe.
No, I think he's definitely going to have to use his fast repair. I would definitely expect everyone in this race to want to use their fast repair at least once before this night is over. We're just about a quarter of the way through the race here as we're on lap 18 out of 75, getting closer and closer to a third of the way through here, and I think by halfway I would expect for everyone to at least have some sort of damage on their car from another car, definitely on purpose before the end of the night here.
Yes, for sure, and all that
Roger
contact.
Craig making contact sideways across the track, almost worked to perfection to go ahead and give Preston Kramer nowhere to get around him.
Yeah, that was almost bad for the guys running third, fourth, and fifth.
Yeah, especially considering how hard it is to kind of change your course on dirt. Nick Vickery, though, getting in there a little bit too deep on the inside of Preston Kramer, almost knocks him sideways. That's, of course, going to allow Joe Canal in that number one machine. We'll see if Joe can now make anything of it. Oh, there was the Bass Man down on the inside facing the wrong direction. I feel like he will be disqualified if he continues to go the wrong direction, so I think everyone's going to keep going counterclockwise here, but now you can see Roger has righted his car. Oh, just before he gets taken out by another driver. I think that was Jeff Flaro. Yeah, Brandon Lacey is the driver to spin him around the first time.
Yeah, I think Roger has an agenda, but it's not playing out. Everybody's kind of going after him so far in this race.
Yeah, you can, of course, see the drivers we were just then focusing on behind those guys of Kramer, Canales, and Vickery just behind these two. And I think if Canales gets to Smith and he can turn around, he will. Now we get the Bass Man coming into view just ahead of these guys down the front stretch. I don't think he intends to let Preston get away with this any longer than he wants to. Oh, Bassman just barely over-rotates the car. Mike Kramer, though, ahead of these guys, spins himself into the outside wall. Very ill-handling race cars all the way up and down through the field here.
Absolutely. We see Vickery trying to work the outside. I think he's wanting to get back up to where he can make some contact with some guys showing displeasure from earlier in the race. He's just not there yet. And right now you got a race for the lead.
Yeah, Dittmer and Lacey going at it. Dittmer has caught Lacey up after the course of a couple laps. Huge slide job, though. We see Preston Kramer getting hit on both ends. One car into the outside retaining wall. Hard lick for him, but there's still this awesome battle for the lead. These two drivers keep throwing sliders at each other. Not a whole lot of contact between the two of them, but keeping it pretty civil so far.
It's still early, Austin. I think it's going to get a lot more physical as we move into this race. Guys absolutely just trying to turn some laps right now. But, yeah, it's a pretty good battle right here watching Brandon Dittmer in the 83. But, yeah, they're going to continue to catch lap traffic, and eventually you're going to come into contact with the guys that are wanting to mess your race up.
Yeah, they're more interested in tearing up race cars than having a good race here. And of course, it is kind of fun to do both. This is a non-points affair, just kind of for fun out there. Everyone just blowing off some steam, like Roger mentioned, after a long season. These guys are just here to have fun at the end of the night, and only one more week of true championship racing before we go on to the next season. So, still blowing off a lot of steam. Brandon Dittmer, though, doing a great job over Brennan Lacey. Brandon and Brendan, very hard for the commentators to kind of get their heads around, but you see Roger Craig still out here. Looking at Andrew Smith, doing a great job. He's made up a couple positions here after falling back most recently. See Roger Craig getting extremely sideways just behind him, and still racing these couple cars. You can really throw a blanket over the cars between about 6 to 8 or so.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys are putting on some good racing right now for sure. They're wanting to log those laps. Oh, we see Cranmer, I think, coming into play there a little bit, but 79 able to avoid that and keep moving forward. That's Andrew Smith, and I think he's trying to run the low line, work the bottom to the inside of Boyce, and just has not been able to make that pass yet.
Yeah, doing everything he possibly can, trying to use up all the grip possible. This, the width of the track, though, keeps getting wider and wider. You keep seeing these drivers moving further and further up the track. Leader still Brandon Dittmer over Brendan Lacey now by about 0.2 of a second. Really just depends on where they are in the corner. Still taking a little bit different of a line here. You see another battle out on track between Jeff Flaro and Bob Curtis. You can see between the 200 and the 012 cars.
Yeah, and to your point, Austin, this track's going to continue to widen out. These are heavier street stock machines with less horsepower than what we've watched throughout the night with the sprints. So we can both attest that these cars are very hard to drive, and you see the leaders taking each other out, trying to anyways, to move up the track, and that's going to allow Moonen to take the lead, I believe.
Yeah, that puts Kyle Moonen in the league, and that fantastic-looking Dale Earnhardt throwback. You can kind of see that good wrench GM services on the hood, and the regular down the side, of course, using those regular colors, and then the interior of the car being that bright red. You see the old two previous leaders of Lacey and Dittmer getting involved with each other, and now Nick Vickery says, I'd like to get a chance at this podium here. He's finally breaking into the top 3 spots, so right now it's Moonen, Lacey, Vickery. Jeffrey Kemper, a guy we haven't talked too much about as of yet tonight, but he's making his name known, and there's a big wreck off turn 4. It's involved about 4 or 5 drivers at this point, and they keep piling in there.
Pieces laying on the track, guys trying to get turned around, still getting spun. Preston Cranmer getting hit multiple times there, I believe, and I think Brandon Dittmer's having to go in and try to take his quick repair.
Yeah, Preston got his car perpendicular to the way they should be going on track, and this is definitely going to scare the leaders if they come around and see all these cars everywhere. Not a whole lot of room for them to go to get around some of these incidents, but it's especially hard, too, to slow down for pit road here, JR.
Very difficult, and the angle of pit road is very sharp coming in. Oh, it looked like Kyle Moonen has been involved in a crash here, maybe with the Mike Cranmer, I believe it was.
Yeah, I think that was Mike Cranmer going down pit road. You see Preston Cranmer kind of backing up down pit road. I don't think he's been disqualified too soon yet, but you can't really reverse down pit road too far before you get completely disqualified from the race. They're still hitting each other all around the racetrack, though. Currently, the battle for the lead is between Nick Vickery, Jeffrey Kemper, and Kyle Moonen. The car on your screen right now, the number 24, in third place, the last car on the podium. Pretty big gap, though, from Vickery back to Kemper.
For sure, that's a position you want to be in a race like this. You want to be able to have time to react and maneuver when you see cars sitting still in the middle of the track.
Yeah, you can see one car sitting right there, very slow, that red car. I'm not quite sure. I believe that was the 200 car of Jeff Flaro. I think he kind of lost all drive in that car, had to park it. I see Preston Cranmer, another driver who's kind of parked it at the end of the day here. There's one driver flipped around the wrong way up by the wall. I'm not quite sure who that is.
I believe that's Joe Canellis that was spun there.
Yeah, I think you're right. You see Lacey right now, one of our old leaders, relegated now to 9th position. You can see him kind of a lap down to the number 24 car, Moonen passing him right now. Now I see that Preston Cranmer finally pulling back out onto the track after getting his fast repair. Canellis extremely sideways. Camera's still locked on, though, to Andrew Smith, currently sitting in the 6th position. He's having himself a pretty good night, and still looks like a Nick Vickery, not too much damage on that car.
Oh, absolutely not. And, since running up front early and being spun, I think he's kind of settled into this fourth to sixth place area. And I think he's just trying to find somewhere fairly safe to run as we see another spin there.
Yeah, that was the Bass man for sure. I'm not quite sure who the other driver was involved in the accident, but these guys still going all out, really just wrecking each other to have a good fun night at this time. Kyle Moonen, though, back in position of the lead. He's clear by about 1.7 seconds over Nathan Aldrich in the second position, and then Nick Vickery in third. See Jeff Flora getting a huge opposite lock, a handful that is, just in front of those cars. You see Pat Boyce in that number 41 car just ahead of Andrew here. Those two cars fighting for position, the last spot in the top four. Oh man, Kyle Moonen involved in a big wreck. That's going to slow him down. You see Joe Canales, the driver that took him out, just on the upper part of your screen right there. That definitely takes Moonen out of contention for the win at this point. Still a lot can happen though, about another 30 laps to go in this race.
I was about to say we're just past halfway here and expecting the contact to pick up, and then we see our leader getting involved in that incident. So I think he's moved back into sixth spot right now, and Nicholas Victory takes over the position for the lead.
Oh, Roger Craig goes straight into the outside wall, kind of involving Jeff Floro there as well. You see him backed up towards the turn 4 gate right there, and you see a lot of drivers still wrecking. Current leader, though, at this point is going to be Nick Vickery, clear by about a half a second over Pat Boyce, and it looks like Jeff Floro kind of racing behind these guys. We're not quite sure if he's looking to take out more drivers or what's going on here. The camera's still focused on Barry Golden. You can see another bunch of cars being involved in another wreck, and it looks like, JR, it's really hard to wreck another guy without kind of taking yourself out too, depending on the situation.
Yeah, you kind of have to be committed. It's probably not going to end well for yourself. You see more contact through turns 1 and 2 with cars turned around.
Yeah, usually on any given night, if there are no fast repairs or just one, you're going to want to check up as much as you can if the track's blocked in front of you. But at this point, I think you just pile into the guy who's sideways on track and just kind of take both of you out.
I think you're right. You just go for it, and I have bad news for the field. Roger Craig came in and got his fast repair. He
got a fast car. Oh man, Preston Kramer, huge takeout on Andrew Smith there.
Yeah, continuing to crash through turns 1 and 2 here. Just a lot of contact coming onto the backstretch.
Oh yeah, they're all over in turns 1 and 2. Oh man, Pat Boyce just tagged. I don't know who that was. Stationary on track. These guys just really don't care anymore.
Yeah, and our in-race reporter, Randy Shreves, we see moving up into third spot now. Pat Boyce in second, and Shreves is kind of in a spot of his own right now. He's got contact in front of him he's having to avoid.
Yeah, Nick Vickery making contact, I think, with not quite sure who that other driver was. And then Nathan Aldrich getting spun into the outside wall. Usually race control in the 305s. Oh man, wheels being disconnected down the front straightaway.
A lot of carnage for sure. It's getting bad, Austin. You need to try to find a spot where you're away from everybody. And you see Aldrich continuing without a left front wheel on that.
Yeah, they're stacked up all over the place in turns 3 and 4. That's where you're going to want to wreck now if you're anyone who's anyone. Kyle Moonen with a fresh car. A couple other drivers taking their fast repairs as well. And another car. This is the point where you can be damaged. I think the Bass man kind of just going straight into the turn 1 and 2 wall. I think he's missing a wheel or two.
He's not in good shape for sure at all. We're watching Barry Goldner here on the screen, currently running in 11th spot. Car doesn't look too bad, but still got some ground to make up. Mike Kramer running in 18th right now.
Preston Kramer sideways going outside of the track through the turn 4 exit wall. Yep,
not good.
Just before he gets towed to pit road, he made contact there with Brendan Lacey. There's still Kyle Moonen facing the wrong direction down the back stretch as we see this is the incident with Preston Kramer here. Great job by our director, Mike Yao, getting us all the angles. That was a big one.
On his roof, we don't normally see street stocks in that position.
No, we do not. That forces Preston to have to get towed down pit road. You see Andy Patton, another great job by Mike here, showing us another driver hitting the outside retaining wall, especially the tires. And I see Kyle Moonen. I think that was a suspension failure.
I would hope so. The car definitely went straight off of turn 4, nailing the inside wall. You see several guys coming in taking their fast repairs at the moment. Got Brendan
Yeah,
Lacey
they
on the
are
screen
all
here.
over the track, especially out of turn 1. There's some driver in turn 2 that's facing the wrong direction. Yeah, Mike's kind of spoiled for choice here. I think we all are in how many wrecks we want to look at and who's wrecking where, JR.
There is action all over the track, for sure. I'm not sure there's a bad camera angle at the moment. There's just a lot going on.
Yeah, this is definitely fun to watch. I'm sure it's fun to be if you're a driver. You see Preston Kramer returning the favor there to Brendan Lacey to say, you wrecked me earlier, here's your payback. So looks like Brendan is going to stop his car. I think he's just going to reverse it, go all the way down the track, down pit road to take his fast repair. Even more wrecks, these guys are coming off pit road.
Going to continue to happen, Austin, and we're inside 20 to go, and right now Andrew Smith is taking that top spot. Haven't heard a whole lot about him, so he's out front at the moment, but as we heard in pre-race, that might not be a good spot to be late.
Yeah, thankfully for him, though, we haven't mentioned his name too much on the broadcast to say he's been involved in many wrecks, so doing a great job out there in first position right now, clear by 8 seconds, so he kind of has some time to check up to avoid some other cars, but if someone wants to take you out, they are definitely going to end your night. These cars are all over, though, on the front stretch. Oh, man, Nick Vickery getting taken out there by Andy Patton, just trying to make his way down to pit road.
Almost impossible to to go anywhere on this track when you come up on something like that. But yeah, Smith for sure, him and Shreves are the only ones on the lead lap. Everybody else a lap down. So if they can somehow find a way to avoid contact, they're going to be the winners here.
Yeah, for sure. Pretty big margins of victory. We hit the likes we haven't seen since Ned Jarrett won by about 14 laps in a certain race in the 50s. I don't remember which one in particular, but we saw Preston Kramer being involved in another accident there. And there's another car facing the wrong way. I think that's Barry Goldner again.
As we're focused in on our leader at the moment, Andrew Smith driving that 79 car. He's, like I said, trying to just find a hole to drive in. I'm not sure he's going to want to get involved in these guys that are up front of him. He's probably just want to pick a lane and go slow around the track, to be honest with you.
Yeah, doing a great job kind of threading the needle through all these cars, going very slow, wrecking around them each and every opportunity they get. There's another couple cars making contact. Right now we're looking at John Rayner Jr. He's someone we really haven't mentioned at all on the broadcast so far here. There's a car going the wrong direction in turns 1 and 2. Now they're all sorts of wrecking down the backstretch. We'll see John get there in just a second.
Yep, car setting backwards on the straightaway for sure as he approaches there.
Oh, Andy Patton makes hard contact with Randy Shreves down the front stretch. These guys are wrecking all over the place, going really slow, just kind of hunting for guys, a lot of these drivers are.
Yeah, definitely targets on the field. Throughout this field, we see Andy Patton having a bad night there.
Yeah, Andy Patton kind of just drilling Randy down the front stretch there, and I'm not sure he tried to avoid that. You see Cal Moonen just taking out our leader, Andrew Smith, into the outside wall. Smith comes down pit road, makes contact with the pit road barrier there. They're still wrecking, though, down in turns 1 and 2. Just behind these guys, yeah, Kyle Moonen taking on another couple of drivers. See Preston Smith just going to go ahead and drive through that wreck. Yeah, this is all-out war, JR.
Yeah, I think Moonen's out for blood at the moment. He's going after several drivers here. Yeah, man, a lot of carnage in the corners at the moment.
Yeah, there is no check your mirror to make sure no one's coming before you turn around. You're just kind of going to go for it and hope that no one's coming. Or, to be honest, I think you're kind of hoping someone is. And these guys aren't even trying to avoid contact anymore. Just saw Preston Kramer come down the front stretch, absolutely just rear-ending someone. They're still wrecking. You see Brandon Dittmer getting taken out by the number 41 car, Bat Boy. So that was for position.
Yeah, and with all this contact, we've actually gone from 2 guys on the lead lap all the way up to 5. So guys are moving forward. You know, at this point, Austin, I think if you're one of those top 5 guys, you're going to want to get in on this action and start wrecking people yourself, or at least try to blend in like you are, and maybe that'll help avoid somebody targeting you.
Yeah, definitely. You see Randy Shreves there with an absolute clean car. He's someone you're going to want to wreck just to make sure he doesn't finish with that clean car. See Brendan Lacey putting another driver into the wall. I'm not quite sure who that black car is. Very hard to tell when the entire door of these cars pretty much just crunched so you can't even read the number anymore. You see Jeff Flaro involved as well, just going to back down the track, and that's a shame. He waited. He didn't wait rather another second or two. He would have been involved in another huge wreck.
It was actually our leader being involved there, the 79 of Andrew Smith. So Nick Vickery has now taken the top spot over with just about 8 laps to go here.
Another handful of drivers facing the wrong direction, trying to involve some other drivers in accidents as well. Nick Vickery, though, about 2.5 seconds up the track from Dittmer as we go ahead and cross the start-finish line. Just under 10 laps to go here.
It looks like guys were starting to get themselves spaced out a little bit there. We see Joe Canellis there having some issues getting the outside wall.
Yeah, not a whole lot of wrecks at the moment. Oh, you see Kyle Moonen almost going for a takeout there on Nick Vickery. He's just going after the leader every single opportunity he gets. And, of course, Brandon Dittmer goes around him on the outside. So now there's a new leader for Kyle Moonen to take out.
Still about 6 laps to go here, so Dittmer is not in the clear at all, and you're probably going to see Vickery or Moonen go after him next.
Oh, yeah, guarantee. I think, like Roger said, you kind of want to be the leader with only about 2 laps to go. That way it takes some finding to get to you before you can cross the start-finish line and win this thing. Dittmer, though, a lot of cars still on him. They're wrecking behind him. All the cars that I think were going to wreck him just kind of wrecked each other there. One of those drivers being Joe Canales.
We're continuing to focus on our leader here to see what's going on. It looks like the 4 car is going to take our leader out.
Yeah,
so,
Brendan Lacey going for blood.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting spun there. So Boyce takes over the lead at this spot in the race. About 4 laps to go here, Austin.
Yeah, Pep Boyce, your new leader. They're still wrecking all over the track. He's got to be very careful to make sure he's not wrecked by anyone else. Kyle Moonen facing the wrong direction. Jeff Flaro trying to spin his car around. They're now doing donuts to try and spin their cars around and then getting hit by another car and then kind of pinwheeling around the track. Leader, though, still Pat Boyce. Inside, about 4 to go now.
I think he's just trying to find any kind of open spot on the track that he can run, being very careful around each and every guy that he comes in contact with. But I think he may have to get his elbows out and make some contact himself if he's going to continue to stay in first place here.
Yeah, if we could stand this kind of wide-angled lens there of our leader, Pat Boyce, I think he's going to be a man who's very much hunted as the laps come down here. You can see Brandon Dittmer, I think, all the way on the inside of the track. Kyle Moonen wrecking some other drivers. The Bass man, Roger Craig, putting another car into the wall one more time. Oh, man, Andrew Smith climbing the outside retaining wall. Kyle Moonen getting a taste of it just for old time's sake.
Big hit there for sure. Several guys going into the openings in the wall, trying to take each other out, and just a lot of carnage happening at the moment.
Oh man, Jeff Flaro almost taking out our leader Pat Boyce. We're down to 1 lap to go here. I don't think Jeff's going to let him get away with this one.
No, I don't believe he is.
Contact made there. I don't think Jeff's letting him get away now.
He's not, but Pat's got a pretty big lead, about 12 seconds. He's just trying to coast around. He's getting hit on the backstretch.
Masterful job getting it through here.
Yeah, great job. He comes off of turn 4, and Pat Boyce is going to win this race, Austin.
Yeah, great job by Pat, especially on the last lap there. He'll be the only person we interview before the end of the night. What a race there. I don't think I've laughed commentating anything in my entire life.
Definitely a unique experience there, and good to see these guys relieve some stress and get it out of their system.
Yeah, that was definitely fun. I'm sure they had a ball as well. You saw Kyle Moonen, was the winner of the last race. He was just out for blood. If you were leading this one, he was going to take you out. And, just a fantastic race to see the fireworks coming down just in the background. We'll get you the final finishing order here. Pat Boyce, like we just mentioned, brings home the victory. Nathan Aldrich finishes in second. Nick Vickery comes home to round out the podium. Barry Goldner finishes in fourth. Randy Shreves rounds out the top 5. Jeffrey Kemper comes home in sixth, with Brandon Dittmer finishing in seventh. Andrew Smith finishes in eighth, with Bob Curtis in ninth. And Jeff Flora rounds out your top 10. JR?
Yeah, Preston Cranmer comes home in 11th, Brennan Lacey in 12th. Kyle Moonen we saw with a lot of action tonight coming home in 13th. John Rayner Jr. in 14th. Joe Canellis in 15th. Andy Patton in 16th. 17th was Mike Cranmer. And the Bassman Roger Craig coming home last place in 18th tonight.
Couple of drivers now waiting for interviews before we get finished here. We will bring in our leader, though, Pat Boyce. Hey, Pat, great job there. We saw you having to weave through traffic. There were a lot of people going for blood on that last lap.
Yes, there was. I seen people waiting. That was fun.
Obviously, we had a lot of fun calling it. What was it like kind of knowing you had to kind of, meander your way through it, and you really only wanted to lead in the last couple laps?
I just kind of took it easy about the last 5 laps. I didn't really try to pass anybody. But
for sure.
If the opportunity was there, I'd go around him. But yeah, it was a lot of threading the needle.
For sure. Well, Pat, is there anyone you want to thank for bringing this thing home in Victory Lane tonight?
I just want to thank Coast to Coast Racing. This is the funnest league I've ever been in. And everyone that ran tonight.
For sure. Well, Pat, thank you so much for your time. Once again, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We'll bring our the rest of the podium in here, ask them a question, ask them who they want to thank, and then get them on their way. I believe J.R. Shepard has caught up with our second place finisher, Nathan Aldrich.
Austin. Hey, Nathan, you started 13th in this race tonight, was able to bring it home in second place. Walk us through how unique this race was and your strategy going from 13th to second.
Pretty much spent the first 50 laps just driving around in a circle, and from there it became driving around in a circle dodging everyone else. It's really just patience with these.
Absolutely, for sure. There was a lot of contact, a lot of things happening. Were there anybody on the track that you were kind of worried about that may be targeting you, or did you feel like you were pretty well safe as long as you kept your car clean?
Moonen cleaned my clock a couple times, but I don't think he was really targeting me. I think it was more just we were near each other and I was ahead of him.
We saw that several times. Kyle Moonen, after his night went bad, going after a few guys that were near him. This was definitely a unique race. It was cool to see you guys put that show on. But, again, congratulations for finishing second. Anybody that you want to thank for tonight's run?
Yeah, all my teammates, pretty much everyone in Discord. It's almost like a super speedway in that you really can't get through one of these without some help. Galen's Popcorn, Malcolm Mills. I think that's all I've got for now.
Awesome, Nathan. We appreciate you talking with us tonight. Congratulations on finishing second.
Thank you.
And Austin, I believe you've caught up with our third place finisher tonight, Nick Vickery.
That's right. I have, Nick. Great job tonight bringing her home on the podium. That was hectic.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun there.
Nick, is there anyone you want to thank for bringing this car home on the podium?
Yeah, I got to thank Spartan. Andrew Smith is also one of the Spartan guys, and there for a little while I found myself just following him around the track. I think I was actually a lap down, but I felt like we could just negotiate the corners better in front of each other. And try and watch out for wrecks and try and avoid things together. But yeah, unfortunately, he ended up on his lid there at the end and couldn't get flipped back over. I think with 3 or 4 laps to go. So kind of an unfortunate way to end the night here in the 75 lap enduro race. But after that would be SPGC 3D printing. If anybody there has any 3D printing needs, definitely go check out Tom Taylor over on Facebook. After that would be VMR Wraps. If anybody out there needs a wrap, come check us out on Facebook at VMR E-Wraps. Miriam and Auto Spa, my wife, for letting me do this. And then, of course, you guys are putting on a great show. And also, congratulations to Roger on his induction into the Hall of Fame tonight.
For sure. We want to thank you, Nicholas, so much for your time. Have a good night, man.
All right, thanks. Y'all too.
We'll bring in the Bass Man who was in the waiting room. How's it going, Roger?
It's going great, buddy. That was I told you those things are a blast.
We saw you kind of going for blood there, especially on Preston, trying to take out the car that, of course, bared your face on it.
Yeah. There was the problem is I was torn because Preston is a teammate, but I had to give him a couple of shots there just to let him know my displeasure with the ugly guy on his car.
For sure. Before we let you go, Roger, is there anyone you want to thank?
I just want to thank everybody in the Can-Am racing team for sure. Great guys. It's always a lot of fun. But first and foremost, I want to thank every single driver in this league. It is definitely a community league. We come together for these things, and it's kind of like roller derby on dirt. But it's just a great time, and it's the guys in the league that just make this so much fun. So just thanks to everybody out there, and that was a blast.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Once again, congratulations on being inducted into the Hall of Fame, Roger.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's certainly my honor, that's for sure. And thanks for the broadcast, guys.
Our absolute pleasure. That was the Bass Man, Roger Craig. We'll go ahead and get to the other money-making opportunities here. Be sure to check out the Coast to Coast Racing Network on YouTube and click subscribe to catch all the Coast to Coast Racing League action. Join them for Monday Night Madness from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as Marty Sakala and SJRN showcase all the Rebels and Renegades action. Tune in on Tuesday nights as Icon TV brings you Topless Tuesday. On Wednesdays from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, it's the Icon SimSports Hometown Heroes here on the Virtual Grip Network Live each week from Volusia Speedway. And hang out with Extreme Esports TV for Thursday Night Thunder featuring the Dirt Modifieds and Kings of Dirt series from 7 to 10 Eastern Time. Icon TV returns on Fridays with Icon SimSports Friday Night Live, bringing you Street Stocks, limited late models, and finishing with the 360 sprints. The next Coast to Coast Racing League Hometown Heroes broadcast is going to be March 2nd at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And the next VGN broadcast is the BRL Dirt Street Stock Series February 25th at 7:10 p.m. I'll be live with John Hine from Lanier National Speedway. This has been a production of the Coast to Coast Racing Network and the Virtual Grip Network. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Austin Belke. Alongside me in the booth was J.R. Shepard. Up in the production trailer was our director, Mike Yao. Have a good night.
Yeah.